Call a meeting to order of the Budget Committee's workshop on the budget. Tonight we'll be working on the town again. We'll start with a roll call of members, starting with Brian.
Brian Fournier.
Guy Karen.
Richard Fletcher.
Ruth Gage. Oh, Elizabeth DeBrule.
Brian Lewis.
Lee Sperry.
Phil Sproul.
Lisa Jukes.
Tony Tremblay.
Mark Lemay, Selectman Rep.
Hollis Adams, assisting the selectman.
Pete Georgianis. Okay. We'll start off where we left off. I guess we're going to be doing Public Works tonight. Mark, is there anything from the last meeting?
Yep.
Questions and you want to bring in?
On page 2, you had asked about Pleasant Street, sidewalk, detention ponds, etc. That's basically going to move forward as it's presented. I asked the board the other night, and that is what's going to move forward.
Meaning
What are we talking about exactly?
page 2.
Page 2, it's the
I'm sorry.
Pleasant Street sidewalk, detention ponds.
Was made by
Okay, yeah.
All of this is coming from fund balance, except the.
Well, I think you're just addressing Pleasant Street?
No.
You're going to go through the whole thing? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
We're that whole line, well, it's
Okay, yeah. Okay, fair enough.
120,
Yep.
020, 200, 460, 450, and 900. Those are all going to be moved forward just the way they are.
Okay, let's go through that numbers again.
Yep. Pleasant Street sidewalk, bridge sidewalk is 80,000.
Yep,
Detention pond reconstruction, 73,000.
yep,
The ADA elevator, the town hall for the elevator,
Yep.
40,000. The library painting and repairs is 35,000. IT department PD server virtualization server, 75,000. And the SCBA replacement, 300,000.
Question?
go ahead.
The 300,000 listed here is actually only 30, and
Yes.
270 is coming from a grant.
A grant, correct.
Okay, so this is actually only going to be 30,000 from. Okay.
But the grant was applied for and not received yet?
That's right. Chief, you just got the paperwork sent out on that, and we haven't heard nothing yet on that, right?
Application's been made, and feedback from I'm getting from FEMA is realistically, we probably hear June or July. On the award.
So will this be budgeted anyways in case the grant is received or awarded? Or I guess my question is, if we don't get the grant?
If you don't get the grant, you'll be looking for me, you're gonna hear me next year this time, looking for full funding for the 15 budget.
And the full funding is 300,000, is that correct?
Correct.
Which is what we're showing here now.
Correct.
Okay.
But if that passes, wouldn't you have your authorization to spend it even without the revenue?
No, it will be
It's
contingent
gonna
on
be-
getting the grant.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
That's the way it's written, Sue?
That's the way it will be written, yes.
Yes.
And if we don't get the grant, the 30 goes.
It does not affect the tax rate.
Okay.
There's no appropriation.
Okay.
On page 5, we talked about longevity cuts for the non-union people. I mentioned it to the board, and there was very little feedback to the board, from the board to me, to give to you guys. I mentioned it to them, and it is
Talking about 41,700
yes.
near the top of the page.
Yeah, that line there.
That was in the police department. That's all the way through.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, that longevity pay is strictly for non-union?
Correct, non-union.
I didn't think so. Go ahead, Sue.
It's for both union and non-union.
What percentage of that is non-union?
Oh, I'll have to look that up.
You might want to find that out.
have to go through each non-union employee and add it up.
It's 42,000
Total in the whole town?
for the non-union. For the union, it's 42,510, and the total is 121,681.
It doesn't answer the question. Non-union personnel.
Non-union would be 79,171.
For the whole town?
That's way too high, isn't it?
We're in town. You're in town, right?
That's everybody,
All the departments in
all of
town.
departments
In the town.
in the town.
Town side, yes.
Isn't that part of a union contract, though?
We're talking non-union, Dick. That number is a non-union number.
So you said 79,000 what?
79,171,
That's non-union, right?
Non-union.
non-union.
Where did you get that from?
I took every longevity, you take the white sheets that they gave us,
Yep.
and just added them up.
Fair enough.
And where there was union, I took the union.
Yep.
The whole total was 121,681. The union was 42,510. The non-union was 79,171.
Okay. And there's, excuse me, Sue?
Yes?
Is there FICA and stuff attached to that? Or when you budget the,
And retirement, yes. There's a lot of it.
so the 79 is just the salary part, then the benefit, the rest of it's in the
Right.
benefit line.
I haven't done that calculation, so I can't verify those numbers, but if Sonny did it from the spreadsheet, and he knows who's union and non-union.
There was only one person that I didn't have a number on, and I wasn't sure.
Joe?
Sue, just clarification, is the longevity pay, is that a permanent addition to the salary of the employee or more like a bonus?
It occurs after they've been here 8 years, 9 years, and it's a set amount, like $390 for like the 9th year and the 10th year, $390.
Permanently added to the salary?
It's a separate check, it's not part of the weekly salary.
Okay.
Yes, and then it goes up to what, $760 for year 3 and 4 beyond the last step. They tell me once upon a time, the step matrix in the town was like 20 or 25 steps. And then they condensed it down to 9, and then in order to make up for that, because they weren't giving those 3 or 4% steps, they added longevity. That pre-exists me.
But I think, Joe, to answer your question, the longevity pay from 1 year is not added to the salary for the next year. It remains separate and it doesn't compound.
Right, that's true.
I think that's what he's
Is that
getting
the
at.
kind of
You get
what
it-
you're
you
getting
get it
at?
One at a time.
Right. But
So-
you get it every year then?
You
from
get it
the
every year, but
on.
it doesn't compound onto your salary.
Okay.
They stay totally separate. The longevity pay increases at a certain rate, and it doesn't compound. It's based on how many years you've been.
Guy?
I got a quick question for Mark. Can you refresh my memory on page 5 of that longevity pay you were talking about? What was the question you were asked to answer?
I had it highlighted, and it dealt with longevity, cut for non-union. And if I remember the conversation correctly, we were talking about just non-union people, because we could not do anything with the union people.
The question didn't have anything to do with the fact that as of the end of October, we had expended $893.
That comes at the end of the year when they pay it.
Okay.
Okay, Mark, go ahead.
Page 6. We specifically asked for money for the, hire the police officer back in. How did you word that, Carlos?
Word it?
No, how did the board, we discussed it? We can allow you to put the money back. You can't, the policies and procedures, you can't do that.
Well, the board's position was to not budget that position. And so that's the budget that came from the Board of Selectmen. If you want to change that, that's your prerogative, as you know. And we'll see what moves forward from there, but.
And my understanding is, is the Board of Selectmen, at least right now, do not want to fill that position. So the chances are, even if we put the money in there, there's no requirement that they do so.
That's correct.
That would be true.
Guy?
No, that's kind of where I was going.
However, I'd add, Peter, if it does get back in there and it is approved by the voters at the poll, I think it would be probably a little unwise for the selectmen to take action contrary to what the voters' wishes are, but that's just my opinion on what would happen if, in fact, the voters approved it. And the chief came forward with a proposal to hire to fill that position. We'd have to deal with it at that time.
But in the same vein, Collis, we go through these budgets every year and things are moved and changed and done as they are anyway. So as the meeting I watched the other night when we talked about the uniforms for the dispatchers, and so what happens is we cut it out and they encumber the funds from this year's budget. I mean, we said no, but they went anyway and did it. So, I mean, it goes both ways.
I would also submit that when it goes before the voters, there is not a specific article or anything that's outlining, by the way, there's 19,000 for an officer. They're voting on the budget. So I don't know what kind of pressure the Board of Selectmen would come under, unless somebody's going through every line. And that doesn't happen, realistically.
It would have to be a special article, which is what we suggested in the plat to other folks if they were really hell-bent on getting that officer, the thing to do would be a petitioned article to do it. That's the only safe way to do it. Otherwise, you're just putting money in the budget that may or may not be used for that purpose. Go ahead, Mark, I'm sorry.
That's all right. And the last one was on page 9. You asked why the increase in the dues employee the professional dues. It was dues for the NHMA. There was a raise, cost increase there for the dues.
I think the question was the budget, the department had budgeted $13,916 and the selectmen raised it to $15,116. And that's the reason why.
Yes. And that was all of it. That's all the questions that I had to answer, as far as I believe.
And what was the dues were going to what association again, Mark?
New Hampshire NHMA,
Municipal Association.
the Municipal Association.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Now, we
Go
made
ahead.
a cut to one of the professional dues lines in the town hall budget. I guess it wasn't admin and economics. It was. At the time, we didn't have very much information about it, and we cut it anyways.
Professional dues or professional development?
Maybe it was professional development. Employee development?
Employee development,
Right,
yeah.
I got,
Cut 2,500.
Because it was for an employee who had not been able to take the classes this year.
That was at the library.
No, it was the town hall.
Which one was that?
Assistant Administrator.
44300.
Oh, yeah, employee development, I see it right there, yep.
we
cut it,
to
we cut it
2,500.
1830.
That's right.
Yep. We cut it by 2,500 to 1830.
Right.
Yeah.
I have it the other way down.
Right here, employee development.
I have it.
44300.
1830.
Yeah, right.
Okay, all right. I just
Yeah,
put
so
minus
it's
1830 again?
4330, and then we cut another 2,500 out of it.
Right.
To 18.
That's the number we need to get from them. I think what he did was went through the right sheet.
Okay, so, do I need a motion to reconsider?
Depends on how you voted on it. You can only reconsider if you voted in favor of the motion.
I abstain.
Then you can't reconsider.
I move to reconsider.
I'll second.
You can't second it.
No.
Oh, Ruth, I'm sorry, which way did you vote for the motion? I thought that
I
was,
voted for it.
you voted to make the cut?
Yeah.
Okay, then we can reconsider it. The motion's to reconsider. I don't know if we have to vote on that or not. I don't really know if we do.
Which
The-
employee
the-
development line?
1830 on the.
Page 9.
Page 9,
4300.
Okay.
it was 4330, we cut it to 1830, which was $2,500. Go ahead and speak to your motion.
Elizabeth had said you had gotten some new information.
Yeah.
that,
I looked at, I abstained because I didn't have enough information, I didn't feel to vote on this, and so I looked into it a little bit and I found out a little bit more about it, and it was an employee who is in the middle of a graduate program, who wasn't able to take the classes he normally takes because he was so busy this year working here. He is planning to take them in the coming year. So it's basically the same idea as what I said with the library. You know, we have to be equitable about this, and Peter's shaking his head no, but I think we do. I think we got to treat them all the same. And so my position is, that's why I think we should reconsider, is that, and once again, this is somebody else who's in the middle of a program. The selectmen had already put this in their budget, and we've taken it out.
Okay, I guess I'm gonna ask the selectmen if it's the same thing that I heard at the selectmen's meeting when this was questioned on the library side. Is this something where that money, the taxpayers have already paid for this money in the past? When you raise the previous funds, and then that person didn't take advantage of it. Do you understand what I'm talking about? What
Okay.
we've done is, if you take a look, and let's take a look at that same line, okay? 2012, we budgeted, this was $3,980, right? That money was raised by taxes. The taxpayer paid that money. They only spent $605, so somebody didn't take advantage of that. Okay? So if the carrot was out there, they didn't take advantage of it. Again, the following year, they did it again. They raised it to $5,080. Okay? Well, so far this year, it's $149. I don't know if there's some outstanding bills or how much of it was spent this year. That $5,080, the taxpayer paid. He's already paid that money. Nobody took advantage of it. All right? So now what you're saying is, let's budget it for $43.30, dangle the carrot out there again, and maybe not, that person will take advantage of it, right? And the taxpayer pays the bill again.
That's a good point. I would hope that this person's manager would be talking to them about that, and the selectmen would be looking into that. But at the same time, we're also penalizing this person because they're working so much for town hall.
Well, hold on a second.
Well, we're assuming that's what it was. Yeah. Lisa, you had your hand up?
Yeah, and I guess I would say too, we left $1,800 in there. So I mean, I don't know what kind of classes this person's taking, but that will buy you.
I think there was something else in that line.
Conferences.
I don't know how much conferences are, but I mean, we didn't zero it out, I guess is all I'm saying.
True, we cut the portion that would have gone to allow this person to finish the program that they've already started, and that we've, as a town, already invested in.
Well, we've invested for 2 years previous, too, and didn't get anything out of it. I mean,
So we put in in the last 2 years, we put $8,300 and $8,306
we
in.
raised that money through taxes.
Exactly, and taxpayers have put that in, and nobody's done anything with it. So now guess where it is.
Okay.
It's in the general fund, and guess what we're gonna do with it?
It's gonna get spent on something else.
Thank you. So.
Well, it's getting spent on, I can show you the lines.
I would stay with where we're at, in my opinion.
Guy?
Ditto.
Well, I mean,
Yep, I'm with you.
this stuff keeps going back into the general fund. And then what do we do with it?
That's
Reduce
presumably
the
it wasn't-
taxes next year.
It's not gonna be spent on another line within this department. Call a question?
Yeah.
Except if you notice, for the 2012, how much they spent and how much they were budgeted for, they spent 17,000 less than what they were budgeted for.
Well, what line are we looking at?
Yeah, what line are you looking at?
Bottom, total admin and economic development, 2012. That was the example you just gave me, Peter.
No, I'm talking about the money that was raised by taxes.
I know.
The money that was raised
and
by-
your argument is that it got spent. It looks like, for all we know, it went back into the unreserved fund balance.
Which still gets spent.
Well, now there we have a different argument.
But I'm just saying,
Actually, we
so,
don't have an argument, but it
Let's go
hasn't
there.
necessarily been spent.
Yet. But
Yeah,
it's
but
been
see-
paid for, though.
That's true.
Okay, a motion has been made to call the question to, I guess, reconsider. All in favor of reconsidering signify by raising your hand.
Wait, we've already
Oh,
reconsidered.
I'm sorry. All in favor of leaving the line the way it is at $1,830 signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Opposed? 1. Abstaining? None. So that line will stay at 1830. Anything else? Sonny?
Page 9, the merit pay, 41500. There's nothing over the years, but nobody's asked for anything, but then the Board of Selectmen decided they wanted to put $21,000 in it.
Let him finish. Okay, which line are you again on, Sonny? Let's just
41500.
Looks like a new line.
They took that from all the other departments. And
I realize it, I know that's what they did.
Okay.
So I want to make a motion to eliminate that $21,000.
I'm going to second it, just to hear what you have to say.
Well, in the school district, last week, the administrative salary pool, we eliminated all the money that the superintendent was going to give for the same reason. We eliminated all his money, so therefore, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. We should be eliminating doing the same thing at the town level.
Any comments?
This line represents merit pay for all the departments?
All 6.
It's only in administration, it's not in any of the other departments. It's only in the town hall.
Can I ask Sonny a question?
Go ahead.
Do you intend to do the same thing with the other departments?
They don't have merit pay in the other departments. This is the only place that they have merit pay. It was in the town hall.
The note I have
Joe?
written in my margin is that this is from all 6 departments for promotions and incentives.
Right.
Okay, then it's all 6 departments.
What they did is, that's why they didn't see that number's gone, that's a new line, because they moved everything over there. Is that correct, Sue?
Yeah, it used to all be under regular wages.
Yeah.
And it was dispersed among 6 departments, and now it's all in admin.
But this is separate from the 2% performance pay evaluation, or this is the money for this?
Separate.
This is separate.
This is
So does this go to different people?
This goes like if someone gets a degree during the year and they get a 50-cent an hour incentive, it would come out of here. If they get a certification for paramedic, it would come out of here until it can go into the budget. So any promotions or certifications that come up during the year, it will come out of there. If
Sonny?
also
Oh, I'm
the
sorry.
one-time bonuses, could come out of there.
Well, I would assume that that's what the school district was going to do too. Take that same money and give it to the people who deserve it for whatever degrees that they get. So if we're going to eliminate that department money, we should be doing the same thing here.
I've always in the past tried to treat them differently. I understand where you're coming from, but it's a slippery slope if you start trying to combine them. Well, you know, this guy got this and this guy got that. I mean, sometimes it can be become very contentious that way. That's just my own opinion, but I've always tried not to confuse the two. Not saying that you're not right or anything, but. So the motion on the floor, any more discussion on it? Anybody got questions? Lee Sperry?
Yes. I have a question. Is this, I know it's temporary till it gets written into the next contract, but are these merit raises, are they contractual? You know, when they get a certification, is that?
Some are contractual. That money is used for union and non-union.
So what happens if we cut it then?
You find it someplace else.
Brian, what?
So what happens if we cut it? If it's a union I got one person shaking their head no and one person shaking their head yes. So I'm just asking. You're telling me yes, and you were just saying,
I was?
yeah, you were shaking your head like this, so.
I just in disbelief, that's all.
Okay.
Not of me.
And you really
So
shouldn't
is
be
the 21
this police chief. I mean, this is where we're at.
No, but I guess I'm asking, is the 21,000,
Could be used for union or non-union employees.
But is
to a
it?
Degree or gets an incentive, and it would come out of here if it's not in the budget, because if we don't know about it and couldn't budget for it, then it has to come from somewhere.
I understand that, Sue, but you're saying it could. That's exactly what that line is for.
Yes, but before, like I said.
But I guess what my concern is if it's a union thing, then that's technically not something we should be touching, correct?
Correct.
So why?
Commingled, it could be either or. And I can't tell you how many union people will use it next year and how many non-union.
Okay, so far this year, as of 10/31 anyway, we haven't expended any money.
True, it appeared in the regular wage line. If you want
So how much was it?
Of how much, I'd have to ask finance to run those numbers. Because it's all, right now, it's all in the regular wage line.
Okay, I understand.
So, Pete?
Go ahead.
So
Ruth?
does it mean that this is like a contingency fund for what may or may not happen? So, I mean, it could happen that none of that money would be spent?
Well, probably not. Chances are they're going to spend the money.
No, but I mean.
2012, they expended exactly
no.
what they budgeted, right?
Yeah, but that's not what, that's the wrong, that's.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the line up.
That was
Looking the line up.
in another line then.
Put it in a new line.
In a way to try to make it more transparent, they've broken it out so you can actually see, but as of this time, we don't know. And is the way to do it is to budget it and then see how much is spent? Well, then you've come up with a number in there and you can spend up to that number. And we know it's for merit, so if there's $2,000, $10,000, they can merit increase that money. Elizabeth.
So how did you come up with that number then?
That was the combination of what was in all 6 departments. So there was like 3,000 admin, there might have been 3,000 at, I don't know, the library. So it's a combination of what was already in the regular wage budget from merit. And then it was reduced.
So they knew how much they budgeted, but none of the departments knew how much they'd spent?
Oh, each department probably knows what.
It varies from year to year. Merit is for something meritorious.
Isn't that what our new pay structure is? Performance pay?
No.
That's different. That's continuous performance.
I can perhaps give you an example with the police department, if that helps.
Go right ahead, Chief.
At the police department, we just had an IMC, records management communication software upgrade. I had 2 people that are on the front of that project. They came in on their own time. They worked weekends. They came in on nights to train people, etc. They got a one-time bonus, I think, of $500 per person. On the other hand, I also have patrolmen that go steps patrolman 1, 2, and 3. It's not just a patrolman 1, 2, and 3. It's also a way in which we recognize leadership qualities as defined within our policies, and when they reach certain goals, that then they're promoted either, we call it promoted, patrolman 2 or 3. In addition to that, they assume management responsibilities and supervising shifts. Instead of paying sergeants overtime, etc., these folks cover a reduced rate covering shifts. So it's a supervisory role, but it's graduated steps up into it before you're a sergeant. So that's how we use that as well.
So when a patrolman moves up from patrolman 1 to patrolman 2, there's not an automatic kicker in there?
Absolutely. What we're talking about, the merit pay,
That's the only kicker?
That kicks it in, that begins it, and then the next year they're paid accordingly in the budget.
It's budgeted.
Joe?
And Chief, would that be part of the union contract?
For the
The patrolmen, like 1 and 2, whereas the
not-
the information technology guys who are working extra, that would have been something not contractually required, is that?
Depends. That's a one-time payment, so in that case, no, it's not contractual. It could have very well have been a patrolman that's covered by the union for that. It would have been a one-time payment still. However, with the merit, we budget, or we give the merit increase at the end of the year, and the reason you don't see anything out of my budget this year is December 11th. Perhaps I went before the board at the end of the year and presented to the board and get authorization at that point. So again, we move up those people at that time, and then it's budgeted the following year.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the chief while he's in a talkative mood? Not mad at us right now? Okay, so the motion on the floor, if I understand, sir, was to reduce that total $21,000.
Correct.
Any further discussion?
To reduce it to 0, you mean?
To 0. Only because that's what we did at the school level. And I don't care if you're not doing town and school. What you did for one, you did for the other. You know, everybody says there's not a line between the two of them, but there is a separation of lines between the school and the town. Always has been.
I don't want to go there.
I'm not going there. I'm just saying.
I just don't even want to go there. I mean, I let it get carried away last week, so it's not going to happen tonight. Okay, so the motion on the floor is to reduce that line to 0, and we're talking about the merit pay, account 41,500, and we're looking at town hall budget, page 9. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor of the motion to reduce that line to 0, signify by raising your hands. 1. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that line will stay at 21,000 as it stands now. Anything else? Okay, let's move on. Was there anything in the fire department, Mark, that we had discussed that you needed to bring up?
Nope.
How about that 10% cut you wanted to make there?
Yeah, pretty sure it's 15.
He's the word back there.
Chief. Mark said he wanted to make a 15% cut.
I'm already on that list. Enough is enough.
Okay, let's move on to Public Works.
Page 20, and I can
Yeah.
Carl,
Start-
there's a seat up here if you want to, or do we?
Yeah, Carl can come up front. Page 20, right?
That's cemetery.
You okay? This chair, I keep getting a little hand. Carl, you got a match?
Good evening.
Good evening.
So your operating budget went down by 11,000.
The Public Works operations budget went down because we pulled out those fleet and stormwater.
Okay.
Okay, the first page is on page 20. And that is cemetery. The reduction there, Chief, was you, I mean, not Chief, Carl, you moved some wages around, right?
Yes, that was pretty much it there.
Any questions on that? Okay, let's go over to page 21.
Pete, I have a question.
Elizabeth.
Actually, this is more of a general question. The benefits fair was yesterday, right? Do we have any updated info yet?
We do, but I haven't supplied it yet to the selectmen, so with chairman's approval, I can share that.
Might as well, it's available, it's
Okay.
shared.
As you are probably aware, the selectmen changed the employee contribution for non-union employees, and we did have the benefit fair, and we've got most of them. I think we're waiting like on 5 people of the non-union to sign up. But if we assume that they're making the same selections with these new formulas, you should see a savings in the benefit lines throughout the general fund, which will equal about $59,000. Okay? Okay.
Okay, let's go back to regular wages, or start with the regular wages. Any questions?
We're looking at the whole page for 21.
Yeah, I'll go right through it,
Yeah,
yeah. Just pick something out.
The compaction test, was there a reason that jumped $18,000 this year?
18,000.
No. It wouldn't print it.
It's at 1200.
1,200.
Oh,
Yeah.
45,250.
oh, was that where the lines were off? There was a,
Yeah.
you gotta move everything up one
Budget
here, is this?
That was a,
The new
So
system.
that should be like
Year-to-date
475,
expense. Yeah.
actually, right?
there would, the year-to-date column is
Off by one.
staggered.
Okay. Which is like, what happened?
And Carl, you moved some people out of this area too, right?
Correct.
And you moved them to,
Some went to the fleet, the mechanics went to the fleet, and then portions of folks went to stormwater. Nobody went full-time to stormwater, but, half of an engineer.
Was that what you were talking about, Mike, working, being spread across different departments?
What we're trying to do, well, the fleet is obvious, we just took all of, and trying to get all the fleet costs in one spot. But with the new software, the Munis software, we're gonna be able to, we always used to, as we provided services to other places, we would bill them, they would reimburse us. With the new software, we're gonna be able to code payroll each week to whatever function the guys were performing. So instead of, as Peter would have called it 10 years ago, double budgeting, we're gonna go directly to where the work's being done.
what he means by that is you would have the maintenance in the fire department and the maintenance, the people in the highway department, and then they would bill each other, and it would be very confusing. It was internally. So the chief of police sends a car over to get repaired. Okay, you've got a few guys there at different rates of pay. How do they pay?
Whoever works on the car. The chief would get, same, that doesn't change, the chief would get a bill for parts and labor. So that part, we didn't, the rest of the departments didn't want to do that with fleet. So fleet is just DPW, I mean, we still work on the other departments' vehicles, but we will not be billing the other departments directly for that time. It's,
And we have maintenance and repair lines in those other
That makes no
departments?
sense.
I don't understand what you just said.
Yeah, me neither.
it means I can only affect the public works portion of that budget. So in the public works portion of that budget, we pulled it all together in one spot, but the other departments decided to maintain their own fleet lines.
But you should be getting revenue.
We still will. That doesn't
Yeah,
change.
but you're saying only the parts.
No.
No, we also get the
You're getting
revenue for the
labor and everything?
Yeah.
So you're gonna clock in and clock out on the job? Is that how it's gonna work, or
Yeah.
is that how it's done, or you do it by
Yeah,
book?
no, we
or-
do it by repair order. So if the guys are working on a police car for an hour and a half, their time is logged to that repair order. At the end of the month, all the police repair orders, all that time gets billed in accordance to whatever hours and rates there were.
What are we charging an hour?
It varies by employee. It's straight time and benefits. So it's whatever the mechanic is making.
So it's it's not a profitable.
Right.
But
In other words, there's no markup.
I understand that, but everything in that shop, everything is costing money when you guys are working on stuff.
Right.
So, in your defense, I feel that that all should be equated into the bill.
Yeah, but that's not up for, that's the way they,
Yeah,
that's up to.
if you're getting to like
I guess
the
I'm just-
X-factor, you know, the
Overhead.
widgets and the nuts and the bolts, I mean, we don't count every little ounce of grease in every widget. So I am taking.
I guess that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I recognize that we're not capturing 100% of our costs to the other departments. But like an oil change, we haven't agreed this many gallons of oil or this many quarts of oil, you know, it's this much time. So we try to do the best we can, but we don't capture every nut and every bolt and every inch off a welding rod or, you know, so there is some cost there that we're just absorbing in our supply lines. There's in our fleet software, I think they call it the X factor or something, where you can kind of lump all those costs and it can calculate it, but we've just never bothered to try to do that.
Okay, that was fleet operations.
That continues on. Next page.
Yeah, well. And 25 is the Public Works Department that we're at now.
And we're at, well, we just finished, we're at 22.
I'm sorry.
Continuation.
Yep, yep. Now, I had a note on mine, Carl, on page 24, I had a note on here. That on third line from the body and equipment maintenance supplies is 20,000.
Yeah.
You had made I thought that you had said that was, part of that was for cutting edge?
I believe that is correct. I think we rolled cutting edge and kind of two lines together.
53430, I've written down cutting edges for plow.
What was the other one, Joe?
53430, equipment maintenance supplies. I wrote down cutting edges for plows next to that one.
Yeah, it's 20,000, because up to, on page 22, which is why we're back to 24, at the top of that page, the very top line, equipment maintenance supplies, was cutting edges, was 20,000. So all we did is zeroed that out and moved it over.
So pretty much everything zeroed out on pages 22 and 23, 21, 22 are appearing, and 23, 24 in stormwater and fleet maintenance. Okay. Right. This is why we have no histories.
Just like we said before, it makes it real difficult to follow. Gravel and stone.
All right, Peter.
On page 22.
22?
Oh, yeah, 22.
I noticed you overspent both those lines 2 years running, but you were level funded this year again.
Yeah.
Exactly my question, Joe. Cut right onto that. Why would we? It goes back to the old salt line that from years ago where we used to overexpend it every single year.
Well, not every year.
Well, lately we haven't because we budgeted it the way it used to be. But the way we used to budget years ago, it was always overexpended.
Well, I can't speak to years ago.
Yeah,
years
well,
ago, but I wish
unfortunately,
I
I
had
can't.
I wish I had the ability to be able to tell you how many loads of stone I'll need next year and how many loads of gravel for every washout or every job we're going to do. But I'm not that good. So I do my best to estimate what the need's gonna be, depending on what happens over the year. If we get a lot of rain, a lot of storms, a lot of shoulder washouts, we're gonna be heavier in those lines.
Well, in previous year, it was overspent by 8,000, and last year it was overspent by over 2,000, and we still leave the 10,000 in there. Just budgeting wise, it doesn't seem to, it's not normally the way I budget. I don't usually under budget.
Well, what you're seeing is a result of the selectmen's action.
Really?
So some of it is they're making cuts.
Mark, you know anything about that?
That, I believe, was part of our discussion when Nick came forth with all his proposals, and Nick reduced a number of lines in the budget, and I believe that was one of the line budgets that was affected.
I'm showing a department request for 10,000.
Yeah.
And then a selectman's request for 10,000. Carlos, you know where we're at?
Yeah, you know exactly where you're at.
And again, in that case, I just didn't see the need to raise it.
Okay, no, that's, I mean, if that's your excuse, I mean, if that's the reason, that's fine. I'm not saying excuse if that's the reason. Brian?
Carol, how do you guys keep track of, like, for example, this line when you guys are doing road stuff? I mean, are you guys writing slips up, or, like, I know you guys are pulling stuff out of that pit all the time for road jobs that we're doing through our road program, so.
Well, it's.
How does this, I guess my whole confusion about the whole road program is, I see what goes on, and we're all the same way. Everybody's going in 5 different directions. To keep track of what goes to the road program, what goes to Public Works, I guess I'm a little confused, and I just want to know how it's being, like this line, for example. How do you know exactly how? You might have overexpended because, I don't know, 20 loads went over to Pleasant Street. I don't know. I mean, I'm just throwing out ideas.
Well, your confusion is well founded because there's a lot of moving parts.
I understand.
I wouldn't use that line for a road program road. That would come under the reclamation line. I don't count every 6-wheeler load of. We pay for the gravel we process in our pit.
Well, I guess my other point is who's giving the yardage? Who's telling you how many yards are going in each truck? How many yards are sitting there?
Well, like I said,
Let him finish.
We pay out of the reclamation line
Yep.
for whatever rock and stone and rubble we have.
Yep.
Each year. We go out to bid. We pay whatever it is, so much a ton, whatever the bid price is, and they make as much as they can with either the budget we have or the material on the ground. I don't track every single load of that leaving the site. So if we're doing, say, Addison Road, and we're going to put 4 inches of that over a section of road where we want to do a fill, I don't count every load that goes to Addison in that case. But if we're doing a job like Addison Road, and we got a whole bunch of stone that's coming in for pipe for Addison Road, I would pay that out of the reclamation, out of the road plan line, because it's for that job. These lines, gravel and stone in here, is more for, like I said, if we have a washout, we're doing a crossover culvert, it's not part of the road plan, it's just, we have to replace a culvert.
Maintenance.
It would come out of this line.
So now, is this stuff that's being bought out of other pits, is what you're saying?
Yes, yeah. The stuff we process comes out of the reclamation line, out of the big road plan line, and that's what we use it for, is mostly the big roads.
Okay.
Still on page 22. Anybody else got any questions?
So that bridge repair just went up because of that CIP thing?
I'm not sure which, you have to ask what bridge that.
On,
I know which line it is, $46,000.
yeah.
3,000, he spent 26,000.
I know you went through this already, but.
Well, let me
You
go through
refresh
it one more time. As I mentioned when I did my presentation, we hired a consultant to come in and take a look at all of the bridges that we thought over the next several years would need attention. Because we wanted to kind of prioritize it, we wanted to get our hands around what needs to be done. All of the repairs fell into two categories. Some of it was minor maintenance kind of stuff, like dressing up the rails or guardrail or things like that. And then some of it was more substantial. So I broke and I think I included it in the handout, but I broke out the report and we prioritized it by year. And there are maintenance parts and there are capital improvement parts. The 46,000 is the maintenance portions of East Dunbarton Road, Terrell Hill Road, and Henry Bridge Road, I believe. So next year, and the reason I lumped them is it's similar work on all the bridges. So my hope is I can put out one bid or RFP next year and have somebody come address kind of the same issue on 3 different bridges.
All right, sorry, I understood it as like kind of like a CIP item or something like that, or
The
okay, sorry about
repairs
that.
a CIP item.
It's, we've always.
I got a little.
We
mixed
go
up.
back and forth, what constitutes a repair, a maintenance issue, and it's tough. I mean, I've gone back and forth based on whatever. When Peter's brother used to yell at me loud enough about, because we were doing it one way and he didn't like it, okay, we put it the other way, and then the next committee would come along and they'd want to do it different. So this is my understanding of how we should do it. It should be maintenance in operating, capital, and CIP.
Okay. Anything else on 22? Let's move to 23. This is stormwater utilities. This is a new and that has, because those are there's a new position in there, am I right?
Yes, this is the only kind of change, I think, in personnel is after much debate, the board did approve leaving a part-time engineering tech position in this org. So if you look on the regular wages part-time, you see the $23,999. That is for a part-time technician. And the reason for it, and the board actually felt it was important enough to keep this in. When we went through our review of the stormwater permit last year, there were several issues that we found, but the biggest issue that I found that's going to be very expensive for the town is the data that the state collects, which goes to EPA, and EPA then turns around and makes decisions on these permits. The state gets their data from a lot of different places. For instance, some of our samples that are in their database were right after the Mother's Day flood. So people were calling water quality issues in our streams. So in the database, there's 4 samples, all within a couple of months of the Mother's Day flood. And they show bacteria in the stream. The state doesn't have the resources to go after and do a full, 2-year analysis on, is that a continuing problem or is it a one-time event? So because it's just hanging there, the state publishes, here's the list of all the water quality issues we found. EPA interprets that list and says, okay, all you towns have to deal with all these issues. Well, something like that may or may not really be an issue. So we really need to focus in on completing the picture on that data. If it really is a water quality issue, then we should plan on how we're going to deal with it. But if in fact it was a point in time where there was a degradation and now it's not there anymore, let's give them the data to show them that that shouldn't be on the list and we shouldn't be doing all kinds of work if it's just ghost data. So, I've put forward to take the proactive approach. Let's get ahead of it. The state every 2 years has to update those lists. So I want to provide the data or really look at it. And if we have impaired water bodies that aren't really impaired and shouldn't be on that list, I'd like to demonstrate it. And the savings, if that's the case, would be very large.
Thank you. Go ahead, Simon.
Just a question. This is a new position.
That one is, yes.
So this person hasn't been hired at all yet?
No.
Okay, in the salary, you got your, what he's gonna make. But then, if you go to the next page, the new position gets a 2% performance pay for 6 months. How does a person who hasn't been hired get a 2% performance pay?
Where are we?
I'm not sure, I'd have to look at what you're looking at.
I think it's a misprint or something. I mean, you haven't hired him, and he's already gonna get a 2% performance pay?
I don't believe that would be the case unless it was a mistake. I think we budget new positions, and I'm confused because I would have asked for April 1st to get out in the summer.
Right.
But most new positions start July 1st,
July,
which is when
right.
that 2% would have happened. So I'm not sure if it has the 2% or not. I'd have to look at the spreadsheet.
That's the only thing I caught on that.
Yeah. And if it was a performance pay, I can tell you that we wouldn't hire somebody and 2 months later. Unless they were unbelievable.
Yes.
Selectman Lemay. I'm sure the Board of Selectmen asked what it would cost the DPW or what would it cost the town to have an outside source do that service, right?
We sure did.
What was it, College? I mean, I think you have a little bit of knowledge of this area.
Well, it would have been multiple times more than this. I guess, let me say this. This is important because if we can get just one impaired water body off that list, I mean, it's going to result in tremendous savings when it comes to trying to comply with the MS4 requirements that the EPA is bringing down. And we think that, if we can hire somebody part-time to take these samples to demonstrate that, in fact, there is one of the bodies of water on the impaired list actually is not impaired, and we can get it off the list, the savings is going to be huge. And the only way to do that is to start collecting the data now, anticipating that these MS4 guidelines are to come down sometime in the next year or two. And at that point, we can say, no, this water body comes off the list. And if that's the case, like I said, there's going to be huge savings.
Do we have some on the list now?
Oh, yeah.
How many?
I don't know.
There's probably 7 or 8.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different constituents that are impaired, so there's probably 6 water bodies, but there's probably 8 different impairments, 8 or 9 different impairments.
So, on this line, that regular wages of 61,000, which the Board of Selectmen approved, is that somebody we already have?
Yeah, that's a compilation of, I think, 4 people that we already have portions of them.
So this is going to give us 2.5 engineers in town.
Well, no, it gives us 1.5 technicians. We have 2 engineers, we have a technician now. This will add a half a technician.
So we have 2 engineers, 2 full-time engineers. We have a
3
full-time
if
tech.
you count me.
Like I said, 2 full-time engineers.
Wow. Now, why is street sweeping in this line?
Street sweeping is actually a requirement of the stormwater permit. A lot of the contaminants that end up in the water cling to the sand that we spread on the streets. So street sweeping becomes a very important part of managing stormwater.
And how, can I ask,
Go ahead, Joe.
how much do you normally spend on street sweeping in an average year? You don't have a history here.
Should be a history somewhere.
Yeah. The, actually,
That's subbed out. in my-
that line existed. Does the history show in the old? Yeah, so 8,500 in 2012 was the actual,
What page are you on there?
on page 21.
21, okay.
We have a new vendor in the last few years that is just phenomenal. That does our street sweeping, so our costs have actually gone down in the last few years.
Didn't we have a deal with Bedford at one time?
We, I don't want to call it a deal, but we call on Bedford on spot occasions. They've never done our full town sweeping. It's the same with the city. The city has a vacuum sweeper, so we actually pay the city of Manchester to come over and do South Mast and Lampson Ave, our porous pavement, because they're the only ones that have a vacuum sweeper. So they come do it for us, they send us a bill, we pay the bill. So we're actually contracting the city for that.
Well, we had a deal at one time with Bedford, where they used did some Vactor work with
Yeah.
them, and they,
Yeah, we used to trade off
Yeah.
service. That doesn't happen often, but it's still there. We're having a parade or Old Home Day, and we need the town swept quick. Bedford will come do it for us, and we owe them a day with the back truck.
want to get questions? Okay, let's move on to fleet, we need to do any more on fleet operations, we discussed it, but is there anything else on that, 24?
Hold on a second.
Go ahead. Brian, you had a question?
No, I'm just trying to catch up here. I was still back on.
I'm sorry.
Which it's probably all stuff that
23.
I should have already known about, I'm sure. All the way from consulting to street sweeping to advertising to cell phones. Why is it that there's one number for your budget and then the Board of Selectmen cut it down? Did it go someplace else, or is something I'm missing?
No, the only lines that went somewhere else are the ones that are zeroed out. So the ones that you see that were reduced were just reduced. They were part of the board's motion to reduce.
I mean, on
So it was
street sweeping, 79,000 and 9,500.
Well, remember what the board did with what I proposed in stormwater? I proposed we're gonna get a permit next year and we have to do what the permit says. When we got to the board's final deliberations, we were relatively comfortable that we weren't gonna get a permit this year and have to implement it next year. EPA also has kind of hinted to us that they understand towns have a budget, all towns have a different budget cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So they've told us that, though we don't know exactly the extent to which they're gonna do it, they told us they're gonna have a phase-in, like they'll issue a permit, say, in June, and they'll give us a year before we have to comply. There'll be an implementation period.
Mm-hmm.
So given that knowledge, the board reduced it with the exception of keeping that position and some money for sampling so that we can kind of get ahead of the data. But the 79,000 for street sweeping, in the permit, and I hope this is going to go away, but in the permit, there was a requirement that we sweep all our streets. Currently, we only sweep the curbed sections of street, so the downtown. But EPA actually had a requirement that we sweep all the streets. Even if it's a gravel shoulder, we're supposed to sweep it. So that would add a lot to our street sweeping. Obviously, all the public works departments looking at the permit all said it doesn't make any sense to sweep a curb and gutter street, a ditch line, if there's a ditch line. So we hope EPA will see the wisdom to just take that out of the permit. But that was based on the requirement that was in the permit.
Is that part-time position a benefit position?
No, the selectmen's intent making it part-time was there would be no medical benefits.
And I guess my whole other thing is, I guess Collis could answer this, is we're doing all this stormwater checking and stuff like that, and then once, I guess my question is, once all these brooks and so on and so forth, let's say get okayed or so on and so forth, what happens to this person? Is this going to go on forever, where we're going to continue to keep checking these things, or? I guess I'm concerned in the fact that we keep adding a person and then something happens, and I mean, we have great engineers in our town, granted, but we've had this flux of development and so on and so forth, and now we have no development going on to speak of, and we have 2 engineers, which I love, but at the same time, we just keep creating more people. Now we're going to add somebody else, and now all of a sudden, what's going to end up happening? I mean, is this going to continue on and on and on, or is this person going to be all of a sudden, oh, well, we'll just shuffle them into here now because we don't have to test water anymore? I guess you have to understand my my point, because we keep adding stuff, and then this creates retirements, and this and that, and it just goes on and on and on.
I think it's the selectmen's expectation that this person is gonna be able to develop enough data to demonstrate to the EPA that we can get certain water bodies off the impaired list.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, there will become a point in time where we wouldn't need that person any longer. Now, I don't know if that's gonna take 1 year or 2 years, but, again, it's the selectmen's position that that's pretty short money. If we can get just one stream or brook off that impaired list, it is going to make a tremendous difference in how much we're gonna have to pay through EPA.
And I totally get that. I want it.
Just, if I could just say something though, because I don't want somebody to come back 5 years from now and tell me I lied to you. And he will.
God, I will.
So, the reality of stormwater is, I would love to think that in 5 years, we're gonna prove every water body's clean. We're not. Because at the same time we're out testing water bodies and cleaning them up, the technology to measure the contaminants is getting better and better and more accurate and can measure at finer levels. And the Clean Water Act keeps ratcheting it down, ratcheting it down, ratcheting it down. That's reality. We can sit here and debate all day long that there's a point when we should not be doing this anymore, but history shows us that that's not going to be the case. So what we need to think about as a community is what is the most efficient way for us to deal with a problem that we're going to face every day, all the time. If we found that suddenly our water was clean, we could always eliminate the part-time position. Reality is it's probably not going to happen. It's probably going to get more streams will become degraded. We're going to have to deal with them. It's going to be just as cost-effective 3 years from now to deal with it the same way as it is today. So I wouldn't want you to go into this with the expectation that we're going to get rid of this person because everything's going to get clean. My expectation is technology, development, whatever, water quality. I hope we can work ourselves out of a job, but I don't see it. I see it we're getting better and better and better at managing it, better and better and better at dealing with it, but at the same time, technology is allowing us to measure to a finer point, and EPA is not going to say, okay, we're done. That's just reality. So and to address the engineers with nothing to do, I can assure you, we have a list that I could employ 5 engineers for the next 10 years, and we would never get it all done. And yes, engineers make a lot of money. I don't know how much our engineers make, but let's say it's $60 an hour, fully loaded with benefits. If I have to go to a consultant to do any of the jobs we're talking about, $60 an hour is the secretary typing the report. An engineer, a professional engineer, is $150, $160, $280 if it's a hydrologist. So having staff engineers, if they are in fact busy, is the most cost-effective way to get work done. We assist the schools, we assist every department, we assist Parks and Rec. I mean, everybody that, if they have a need, instead of them running out to hire an engineer, they can call us, we can go over, try to help them. So it's not just, we're not down there playing tiddlywinks. If there's not development, they're helping with the road plan.
I'm not saying that, but I do have a problem with the fact that we have had development going on, and you guys have hired engineers, correct me if I'm wrong, to check on these developments. Where's our engineer?
Our engineers are there too, but the developers pay for that service, so we would hire like VHB.
I understand it, but why isn't the developer paying our engineer? I guess is what
they are. We're billing for that also.
Okay.
We're not full-time doing it because we need expertise. Like, for instance, that development with the big retaining wall, I mean, that was, we needed somebody that knew something about that. So we don't always take care of the job completely, depending on what the elements of the job are, but.
So now, I guess my question is that the second engineer that we have, they can't do stormwater at all?
Half of them is doing stormwater. That's what half of that half of one of the engineers is in that 61,000 stormwater line.
And they can't handle the whole stormwater thing? They can't test all the waters?
No, they're busy. They can't go out and gather all the samples. We're talking hundreds and hundreds of samples.
Who tests those samples, Carl?
Right now, most of our samples either go up to the state lab or they go to Eastern Analytical, is the contract lab we use. We're in the process right now of looking at a cooperative thing with all the surrounding towns, because all of us are going to have to do so many more samples.
Right.
So I don't know who we'll use next year, but whatever the best price we can get is, that's who we'll use.
It's going to be a lot of volume.
Yeah.
You know, my feelings on the engineer thing, I think that was, the history on that is we were hired, the budget committee went along with hiring an engineer because we were doing so much development, the developers were gonna pay for the engineer. Well, then when developers died, as soon as development died off, then we ended up.
It actually happened before the development died off, Peter. It happened when we suddenly had $2.5 million worth of road work to do every year. And we started looking at hiring engineers to design roads.
I'm not arguing that.
15 or 20% cost to send out $1 million road job. It was more cost effective to have our engineers doing that and then have the developer pay for the contract engineer to oversee the job.
I'm not disagreeing that that's what happened, but how it was sold at the time was that person was not gonna cost the town any money because the developers were gonna be paying that salary. We're actually gonna be making money out of it.
That is true.
That is now 2.5 engineers later.
Well, we always had 1.5.
So
When did
we're
the
adding somebody else on with the same premise that was gonna save us a lot of money. And hopefully it happens, but
I can give you
again,
the-
5 years down the line, you and I may be arguing this about again. Who knows, right?
Just give me the history. When was the second engineer hired?
Let me back up. When I was hired,
Yeah.
17 years ago,
That was
I
engineer
the-
number one.
I was, actually it wasn't, because I was the public works director / town engineer.
Right.
And that was 97. We had roads, we couldn't keep up with everything that was going on then. And we were getting it tucked to us because we were getting roads that were never built right to begin with because there was nobody there watching how they were being built. So Peter's correct. I went into the planning board, I found the little thing in the law that said, if it's for private development, you can bill the developer. So to get our hands around how much activity there was and to get me some help, I went out and I got a contract with CLD Engineers, and we started billing all the developments for the time, and over a year or two, we looked at how much we were spending, how many billable hours we were chewing up with CLD. It made sense for us at that time to hire our own engineer, because instead of the developer paying CLD's rate of whatever it is, depending on the job, but it was $150, $160 an hour, we could have a staff engineer, we would charge $50 an hour, it would cover all of our fees. As a matter of fact, we hired our CLD inspectors, who we ended up hiring to work for the town of Goffstown. And it worked great for many years. It worked terrific. We also had an environmental project manager back then, who was doing a lot of hazardous waste stuff and all the solid waste recycling. He ended up leaving the town, going somewhere else. At the time he left, our engineer couldn't keep up with everything that was going on. We had a need, because that's when the road plan was fully in gear. I mean, we were a couple years into the road plan. So when he left, rather than replace that position, we went in and made the pitch to the Board of Selectmen that it would be much better for us if we transform that into an engineering position, because we have a need for engineering expertise. So we created, instead of hiring a new environmental project manager, we hired another engineer. That's where the second engineer came from. So it wasn't a brand new position, it was transforming a position we already had. We took the real technical duties the environmental project manager was doing and assigned them to that second engineer. But they also were able to help out with whatever else needed to be done, road plan, bridges, whatever we had. So that's how we ended up with 2 engineers. And then development, of course, tanked, and, you know, we built.
Well, and I guess that's my whole thing is I'm kind of like, all right, we've kind of went like this, and now we're going to try to put this other person in place. I'm going, we don't have as much going on.
Well,
no, we don't, Carl. I mean, our road plans have went less compared to what it used to be. We have less development, but yet we want to add another half position.
You know,
so in my eyes, there is less going on. I mean, we can argue this all day long, but but our road plan has went this, and so has in our development. So
what changed with the road plan though is we used to do 2 or 3 big jobs, $1 million job, $1.5 million job. Engineers put together a bid package, they'd send it off, we'd get the bids, and then, okay, we'll go out and keep our eye on John or whoever gets the bid.
Yeah.
Last few years, we haven't had enough money to put those big jobs out. So we end up doing a whole bunch of in-house jobs, which actually take more time and more engineering time, because now we have to deal with every single culvert and crossing and permits and easements. And, so, you know, it's not like, yes, dollars-wise, the volume's gone down, but it actually increases how much we are doing ourselves. So I certainly don't feel like we're doing less.
And I don't disagree with you, but I think what ends up happening is it goes right back to our road plan. We're supposed to be spending X, but yet some of the money technically is getting taken out of engineering, so on and so forth. So
no, we don't.
Yes, it is, because the fact that that's what you just got done telling me this.
We don't spend road plan money on personnel at all. Not one penny of road plan.
So you're billing out our engineering to the road plan?
No.
Well,
that's what he just said. He's not.
Right.
Okay.
Now, the road plan is strictly, like when we're doing a job, the road plan is from materials.
No, I totally understand that, but aren't you saying you're needing our engineering to?
Yeah. So rather than using road plan money to go hire an engineer,
okay,
I'm using our staff.
Okay, fair enough.
To do it instead.
Yep. I misunderstood you.
Yeah.
Anything else on that? So we're done with stormwater utilities. We're moving over to, I know we already did, again, we're back on page 24. Was there anything else on page 24 for anybody? Which is fleet operations. Let's move on to 25, solid waste. I had on here Carl Consulting Services, 2012 you spent 10,000, 15,000 budgeted this current year. On 10/13 you'd only spent 5. Have you got anything else in here that you've paid for or have?
Well, in the budget request, this is an area where we include an extra $10,000 in case we have a water. The whole consulting services line, that entire thing is dedicated to the closed landfill in Bernardo. So that's the only thing that comes out of that line. So we include a $10,000, I'll even use the word contingency, just in case we have a washout on the tap or some issue down there that we have to deal with. We've been very lucky the last couple of years. We haven't had any problems, but you never know.
So, as I stated, 2012 we spent 10,000. And so far, well, to 10/31, and I don't know if you've spent anything else. I have to go through
So I'm just kind of looking at
new report here. I'd have to go hunting for it because this is a brand new report. First time I've seen it is today. Print it out anyway.
Total spent in that line right now as of the end of November was 9,800.
9,800.
Yeah. We had an issue with the flare down there that we had to replace some components.
Okay. So, If we cut that to $10,000, that would leave $15,000, which is still $5,000 more than you spent this year, $5,000 more than you spent the year before. So I'm making a motion to reduce that line to $15,100.
I'll second.
This is line, I need a ruler, 45030 on page 25.
That's what I thought, okay.
And it goes on history. I mean, we've never
Well, I can
spent,
show you the years we spent $160,000 on that line.
well, I think we've got, you fixed it now. You've done such a great job fixing it that we don't need to spend that kind of money anymore,
Hope
you know?
that's true.
There was a washout a few years ago, right?
There was a couple of them. Or the flood years.
Yeah.
The flood years, we had issues. You know, all of Pinardville, just for reference, the landfill sits, there are two ravines, the eastern and western ravine. The entire drainage from all of Pinardville is one of those two ravines. I mean, it all feeds through there. So we get wiped out with a big cloud burst in Pinardville. It's all rushing into those ravines, and that's where we've had issues.
Okay, so the motion on, any discussion on that, any other discussion? I think I explained what I was looking at. All in favor of cutting that line, 45030, or actually, what I'll do is level fund it to the amount of $15,100. Everybody understand that? All in favor, signify by raising your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Opposed? Abstaining? 1. The longevity pay there is also union and non-union, am I right?
Yes.
Shay, you came up with a number that was quite a bit different than what...
Yeah, I went through and I just picked out the people who weren't, that it didn't say union on it. So like in the police it says union member special article required, but I took all the ones that said, the ones that say include 2% performance pay because it didn't say anything about a union. And I got the longevity was $99,060.
Shay, did you count the people under Public Works that says 3%? Because those are union.
That's who I would have included. So I didn't know.
Right, that's in their contract that
That's
we
a contract.
voted in last year.
Alright, well, let me adjust, then I'll tell you what the difference is.
So we're no longer talking about my longevity, right? 99,000 out of there wouldn't be good.
No. No, he came up with a number when I just
That was
when he
different then, yeah.
brought up longevity, and I noticed that was here, and he brought up a number, showed me that. I said, well, we'll research. When the time comes, we'll research it.
Yeah, no, then it would be what Sunny had. So I didn't know
It
they
is?
were union.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the final number, do we know?
77, what would you say, Sonny?
79,171.
That's what Sunny had.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm just, that's...
I just didn't know they were union. I just was
Right,
going
right.
through and put it in my spreadsheet.
That's why I
so
mentioned it, because it doesn't say there, so.
Thank you.
We're still on page 25. Operating supplies, Carl, what was in that line again?
You gotta go there.
Yeah, I mean, it's very confusing, you see
I got a
30...
big star.
Yeah, me too, I had a big question mark.
The
and-
barrels, that's
Just-
all it is barrels.
Did you ever get a number on how much the load is?
No.
We did ask that.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine. I just made a note on here, Beryl,
Yeah,
so I
me
won't
too.
forget again. Anything else on those lines? CIP? Is that where we're going next?
It is 30.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Elizabeth?
So the sewer, the F-350 that says sewer next to it, since sewer is, what do you call it, self-generating fund, is that actually coming out of our budget, or are they contributing the revenue to offset that?
The deal we made with the sewer commission way back when was, we would alternate, because the truck's also used for plowing and for public works functions. A portion of that dies in stormwater and solid waste, and so that position does a lot more than just sewer. So the truck is a shared expense, and when we originally started, it was sewer would buy it, town would buy it, the next sewer would buy it, town would buy it. So it's the town's turn. Actually, it was the town's turn 2 years ago, but
Okay.
we'll get to it sooner or later.
Okay. And then I have in my notes that the 100-yard, is that what that abbreviation?
Yes.
Trailer, that's 2 trailers and they're being repaired?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we had originally asked for 2 new ones, but when we bought, the last time we bought them, they were aluminum body, so the walking floors that unload them need to be replaced, and the hydraulics and some of the stuff on them needs to be rehabbed, but the aluminum bodies are fine. We'll just rehab them rather than replace them.
And those are different from roll-off trailers?
Yes. Yeah, the roll-off, when you go down to the transfer and you throw demo or metal, the big cans you throw it in, those are roll-off boxes.
Okay.
So those cans we need to replace. That's what those are.
Okay.
How many trailers is that per 60,000?
We're gonna rehab 2 of them.
Where'd you get that price, Carl?
I'm not sure who we got it from. I don't know if it was Donovan or, but it was a quote Mark got from one of the people that works on them.
Can we get that?
What's that?
Can we get a quote on that? Because that number doesn't even jive. No, I'm serious.
Provide you what we have, yeah.
Right. That you're about 10,000 off on each one.
I'll provide you what we got.
No.
No, we don't know what's included in there. There may be other stuff in there that's unusual that we don't normally take care of, but I would like to, if we get a copy of the quote, then we compare
That's what I
it
would like to see.
similar to what we did in the past with the dump truck, even though it didn't do any good.
No, it didn't.
We did prove them that that the town could have saved themselves a bunch of money.
That F-350, what is it, what do you have now?
We have an F-350 now.
No? Is that, you plow the roads with that too?
Yes.
Okay.
You didn't request the backhoe, but this is the backhoe for the transfer station?
We did request a backhoe, and yes, it's the transfer.
Well,
station.
it doesn't show that you requested one.
The CIP committee had cut it. We requested it of CIP. The CIP committee did not recommend it, but the board went ahead and added it back in.
Brian, what was the reason CIP didn't request it, didn't recommend it? Did they just move it out?
I think we moved it out one year.
If you look at CIP, next year's a big bubble too. You've got kind of a backlog.
You do, but then if you look at the next 5 years, you don't have much at all.
Well,
No, you don't. I was on CIP. We went way ahead, and right now, and a little bit next year, you have a huge bubble, and after that, there's nothing. And that's, I think, the reason why we were trying to push some stuff out and move some stuff out to try to spread things out a little bit, I guess, is what the whole purpose was. Unless I got a CIP sheet that was wrong, that's what I saw. And everybody on CIP looked at and agreed with.
Let me take these from you,
Just a
Carl.
question. So
Thank
if
you.
the CIP took it out, why would the Board of Selectmen put it back in?
Because of the need and the bubble that we're trying to avoid.
We got a
Looks
wicked,
like a pretty big bubble to me. I mean, I
There's
don't
a-
know a lot about machines, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
got a lot of equipment right now in those lines.
Yeah,
No
no,
kidding.
I'm looking at the actual matrix,
Mhm.
looking at the bottom line. This year is 7 million, this is CIP's final thing. Next year is 6.6 million, then it goes up to 7 million, then up to 8 million, then it's 7 million, then 11.5 million.
Can I see that?
You don't have mine with me. I left mine.
I don't either.
Did we get one? Oh, I'm sorry.
We should have it. Lana, did you ever get
We
one?
had it last year, did we
We
get it
had
this
it
year?
last year. I don't think we got one this year.
No, our set up this year, pretty much.
So we have a big bubble that's been forming because we keep deferring.
Well, it looks like next year is less money than this year.
Yeah, not in vehicles. There's a lot of vehicles and CIP pushed some out.
Okay, so.
I don't know, maybe we ought to go with Dick's idea. What, on Dick? Elizabeth?
I make a motion that we reduce the reclamation line by $550,000.
Reclamation. So you want to bring that line to 450,000?
Where is this?
The one on top of the page.
Oh, yeah.
What?
That's more than I was gonna.
I have it right there. It's not an arbitrary number. I have it.
Okay. I'll second it for discussion.
$1 million, you're gonna reduce it how much? 5?
To 450.
Oh, okay.
I second it. Go ahead,
Carl's
Elizabeth.
got about $550,000 of trucks in this budget. And he's told me, and he's told this committee, that's where his top priority is. He feels like he's gotta have those trucks. So, it's just a matter of prioritizing. Let's reduce the road plan by that amount. We normally would spend $1 million on the road plan. Let's reduce the road plan by that amount and get him the trucks. Still leave some in the road plan so that he can deal with matters that come up. And, I mean, it's not very much, but he can do something with it, hopefully, and do some maintenance. And in the end, we're still spending the same amount of money. Kind of level funding.
I'm gonna look at it. Go ahead, Guy.
I'm following you, Elizabeth, I'm with you on that. A couple other reasons, I was gonna make a motion on it, maybe, like I said, not for that amount, but past expenditures don't justify $1 million, number one. And don't forget that there's another $375,000 in, what is it, resurfacing? In the resurfacing line. And even if, I mean, with this reduction, it's still, what does that bring it to? Compared to, last year's CIP was 1.1. That would still be an increase in CIP over last year by a couple $100,000, even if this motion passes.
Richard, did you want, hold on, slow down. What?
I was just looking at Carl's portion of CIP.
Okay. Well, that's what Brian's
I'm
looking
looking
at.
at overall CIP.
Brian's looking at Carl's portion of the CIP. That's
Well,
what
I
he's
guess that's what
reading.
maybe I'm
Hold
not
on,
looking
Dick.
at this right, but this is the way I looked at it in CIP, and maybe I'm wrong, but 2.1 million for 214, Carl.
Yeah, I'm not sure, you gotta look at the bottom line.
That's what I'm
He's looking
Not
at,
just DBW, sometimes the fire department has the $750,000.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your bubble.
Yeah, I was quoting the bottom line.
okay.
The town has to be concerned with the bottom line. You guys need to be concerned with the bottom line.
No, and I get that, but I was just looking at how much that was in this year and next year.
Okay.
That's all I was looking at, because if you
Let's-
look
let's-
out, there's not a lot.
We'll look at the numbers again in a minute. Dick, you wanted to say something?
So you just got a quote to do some more road in East Part. It was 300 and what?
$343,123.
How many miles of road was that?
Probably about 2 miles, mile and a half.
So if we had what Elizabeth suggested, it would.
Oh, whoa, before you go there, the paving's already been paid for. So that quote did not address any paving. The paving was already in last year's.
So what was the paving?
So all that quote was dirt work.
Okay, so what was the
Paving's
paving?
another 200 and something thousand on top of that.
Okay, so you still would be able to, let's say, do another 2 miles somewhere?
Yeah.
Maybe, give or take.
Yeah.
Hold on just a
So
second.
we're not
Hold-
saying you can't continue to go on, you know? In other words, it seems to me that I know you don't want to do it, and I guess I don't want to do it, but it seems to me we're not gaining on all these vehicles we need. And it would be to your benefit to get some new vehicles, and
Go back out.
next year, we may not be in that predicament.
And if I could just, because Elizabeth's right. I told the board that, I've made that statement here. But before you vote, I also showed you the road plan.
I know.
And where
I
we're
saw
at
it,
there. I will do as much as I can possibly do with the money that you give me. And just to address Guy's comment, we spend every penny of the road plan. We go through this every year. The encumbrances do not show up on your printouts. So that we never turn back. I mean, maybe $3,000 or $4,000 out of $2.5 million that's spent. I spend every penny of road plan money I can get.
So you'll encumber that amount of money that you got for the bid from,
I have a copy of this week's encumbrances
Okay.
dated,
and
I guess this is just the
and
date.
I would,
Dick, this is dated December 16th.
yeah,
These are
okay.
the encumbrances,
And I
okay?
would assume that when the end of the year comes around, you really don't have any money encumbered for anything else to build roads with.
Just what's on that list.
Right, okay.
Okay, on here, it's got extend the 2013 contract for Continental Paving, and we got about $95,000, $96,000.
And that's the catch-all, that kind of grabs whatever's
And-
was left.
and
We'll put it.
Contracted bid award to East Dunbarton Road, which is what I think you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
That's $343,123.50. And then there's some, here we go, engineering services for Pleasant Street Bridge, CMAC intersection design,
102.
$102,000. Now, what does that come out of?
That's actually a grant, so both the TE grant and the CMAC grant, we had to use private engineering companies, because the DOT required it.
No, I don't have a problem with that. Where's that money's, now that it's encumbered, can we get it?
It's all special article money, so it's just for that project.
That was that special article last year. But have we received those grant monies yet? or-
As we spend, it's a reimbursement grant, so as we
One at
spend
a
it
time,
down,
guys.
we get
Okay.
reimbursed.
So that's, so the motion on the floor is to reduce line number, if I'm right, Elizabeth, 46,950. Two, well, I'm sorry, go ahead, wait a minute. Just let me
Okay.
$450,000. Okay, Guy, did you want,
I just want to, if with your permission, I'd like to read some of these encumbrances that's coming out of this year's budget.
I just read them.
You missed some.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, we have the Continental Paving contract, 13,000 plus 82,880.
$95,000.
Complete design of Uncanonic Dam, 24,500.
That doesn't come out of the road plan, though. That was a,
No, but
that was
it's
a,
a public works thing, right?
but no, that was an article that was, a special article that was budgeted. That didn't come out of the,
And then the East Dunbarton Road is 343,000.
right.
Addison Road guardrail, $8,850.
Does that come out of the road plan or the guardrails?
Road plate, well, that might have been guardrail.
Engineering services for Pleasant Street Bridge, 5381. And then this, of course, the CMAC design is 102,000.
But that's grant money.
That's all grant money?
CMAC is 6555.
That special article, that's already,
Okay.
that was a special article, or it came out of unreserved fund balance. Or what do you call it
grant
now,
money.
something different?
My idea was simple.
I understand exactly what you did.
$1 million a year into capital investments for DPW. If he needs it for trucks, he should use it for trucks. If he'd rather use it for the roads, I'm fine with that. But that's kind of my limit. $1 million. That's it.
Gotcha.
Everybody understand the motion? Any more discussion on the motion? All in favor of reducing that line to $450,000, signify by raising your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Opposed? 1, 2. Abstaining? Brian, did you vote?
I did.
Which way? I missed your count.
I voted.
Okay.
I voted in favor of the motion.
All right, thank you.
Does that make 11?
That would be 11 then, right? Because I said 10, and then so it was 11. So, anything else on that for DPW? No, no.
Well, what about these things that are being offered from the unreserved fund balance?
We haven't gotten that page.
But those are DPW projects, aren't they?
Not all of
Some
them.
of them.
Some of it was the fire department, which was offset by a grant.
One's town hall, one's library,
Yep.
but there were, I think, were there two that were DPW?
Pleasant Street Bridge sidewalk and detention pond reconstruction.
That's another CIP?
Yeah.
What page were those on, those?
Two.
I'm looking
Oh,
at
that's
page
just
two.
I'm looking at
Page
that.
two.
Page two, that's it. Okay, so Elizabeth, you're talking about, which the selectmen have decided to go ahead with, on page 2, Pleasant Street Bridge sidewalk, detention pond reconstruction, the elevator here at Town Hall, is that right?
Yep.
Library painting and repair, server virtualization, and the SCBA, the 300,000, which would be offset by a grant to the tune of 270. So the actual cost is $30,000.
30,000 will be taken from fund balance of that.
Exactly.
70 grand, 30,000.
Right.
Okay.
Well,
I don't know if I want to make a motion. I'm just going to say that, I've come over to the dark side with you on this one, Peter.
Why is it the dark side?
I don't like the way these are being funded. If we want to talk about them as part of the budget, as CIP articles, or as separate warrant articles, or people vote on them, fine. I don't like them being taken out of the unreserved fund balance. I think it was different than the way it was presented to us last year. Last year it was presented as a one-time deal to sort of rectify all this. I don't think I certainly didn't realize that we were looking at a 4 to 5% tax increase. If I had, I would have said the money should go to tax relief.
So when do we want to take it up, on the special articles? Because that's what it's going to come up as. These are all going to come up as special.
So, I mean, I'm not
Well,
even
we
sure,
haven't-
how to talk
this is
about
it for
Carl's
special
project. Because I'm not.
Sue's saying no, Collis is saying yes.
That's what the selectmen
From the
have at
board.
this time. They
Right.
can get a petitioned article before January.
Okay, but that's
15th.
a petition now.
Unless you have your collective bargaining agreements that are still
Right.
in negotiation.
So, I mean, these projects could be absolutely things that we must do, but I'm not comfortable voting for them when they're funded in this manner.
Does everybody understand the argument that she brings up?
No,
I
I'm
think
trying to figure this. You're saying that you're gonna have you wanna have this as a special article?
Special article.
Does that include the fire truck?
The fire truck's not in there, Ted. This is just coming out of unreserved fund balance again.
Yeah, these
You're on the wrong page. You're on the wrong page. Page 2.
It's coming out of the unreserved fund balance.
This stuff.
six items.
Okay,
Okay, and that's
okay,
really only 30.
yeah.
The only one I'm waffling on is the SCBA replacements. That's the only one that I think I might be able to be convinced that, okay, it should come out of the unreserved
Well-
fund balance. But the other ones, I'm not.
It's a $30,000 item. You can do that as a special article. It doesn't have to come out of fund balance. It's very basic. What we've done in the years past is we don't take out of the reserve fund balance raise our taxes up, have the excess, then spend it in a different way, saying it's not going to affect your taxes. This affects your taxes. I can take this money here, except for that fund balance, that fireman gear. I could take all that money right there,
333 is what it comes to.
and I could put it to reduce taxes, or reduce the amount of taxes that need to be raised. Okay, I can do, we can't do it, the selectmen can do it, if they so choose, but it's a game that, I think it's a game now. I think that's become a way to hide things. We've seen in here where unexpended monies, we talked about even from the library where they didn't spend their tuition monies the last couple of years. Those monies went back to the fund balance. They didn't spend it. Went back to the fund balance, but we're spending it now. Guy?
This is going on special article or more? Okay.
I don't think, you didn't
So
mean the
all-
library, you
excuse me.
meant town hall.
So all
Well, I
we-
meant the library also. It was the same situation as the library. The town-
I'm sorry, Guy, and I interrupted.
No problem. So all we can do anyways, if this is going on a warrant, is vote to recommend or not recommend.
Exactly. That's all we're doing.
Well, that's what I'm trying to give fair warning, that if it goes on, I mean, like I said, we might need every one of these things this year. But if it goes on as unreserved fund balance, I'm gonna vote it down. If it
I'm
wants
gonna
to go
vote
on and we
against-
wanna discuss it as a special warrant article that the voters raise the money and pay for it, or if it goes into the budget, that's fine. I think we should have that discussion.
It's not our, they made the decision, it's not our decision, it's the Board of Selectmen who's
That's
gonna.
what,
Maybe
and that's
they'll
what she
reconsider.
understands.
I do,
okay?
but if this
But we're
warrant
gonna
comes
go
back and
in,
says,
we
well,
would be
this-
going in with we won't be going with an agreed item. It'll be we won't agree on something. It'll be recommended by the recommended by the Board of Selectmen, not recommended by the Budget Committee. That's how it'll
Depending on
go
how we
on.
vote, yeah.
Okay,
That's how it'll show. It still gives the voters the option, but it'll say, we don't recommend it. That's all.
why don't we take the 300,000 for the self-contained breathing apparatus and take that out of fund balance, because it won't make any difference which way you go. You're not gonna spend.
I'll tell you exactly why. You can't talk out of both sides of your mouth. And that's what you're doing if you leave that in there. I'll do it for this, but not for that.
It's not 300.
But
it's
wait a minute, Peter. But the reason I'm saying that is nothing. It's a safety issue of the personnel that work for you.
Nobody's disagreeing with that. Then put it in the budget then.
So you
Put the
can lose
30,000 in the budget.
You could lose it if you put it as a special article. But if you put it in the fund balance, you're only going to spend 30,000 anyways. And is $30,000 worth people's safety?
You're confusing it, okay? What you're saying is, the only way you're going to get that passed is if you get that, or you're not being safe. That's not true. Put it in the budget then, if that's the way you feel, okay? Or do it.
You can't put it in the budget because you got to put $300,000 in the budget.
But then you go to the revenue side,
And then you got $300,000 in the working budget that I can spend $270,000.
No.
Yeah.
No.
If you put it in a line item, and I decide that it.
No. Dick, you've been sitting here long enough, you should know.
That's what happens.
If you put the $300,000 in the budget, and then you go to the revenue side, and you put $270,000.
All I'm saying is, if you put it in a special article, and they vote it down, you're not gonna get it. And I don't think.
That's not true.
Yeah.
Well, wait.
Elizabeth, go ahead.
As we understood this earlier, I think part of the part, and I don't want to get all hung up on this one thing, but with the SCBA, the whole point was the article was going to be written in such a way so that if we didn't get the grant, the money was not it was not done.
Exactly.
But you couldn't do that if you put it in the budget.
That's correct.
You couldn't say, but if you don't get the grant, we're taking it back out of the budget.
But you're going to have the revenue, so you're not going to spend it.
Are these individual warrant articles, or is it, but they're all gonna be independent?
You're going to have an offsetting revenue.
Only if you get the grant.
Right, but if they
Yeah,
don't get
exactly.
the grant, then they still have them.
But you still have the appropriation, and you have to
Right.
raise taxes by 300,000.
Okay?
So if you do it as a special warrant article.
Well, wait a minute. Now, here again, you guys are talking out of both sides of your mouth. If you don't get it, right, If you don't, so you're saying the only way you can do it is to take that
Through a special article.
through a special article?
Make it contingent on the grant.
All right.
That's why the selectmen chose to do it that way.
Okay, no, they didn't, they decided to take it out of fund reserve, fund balance is what they decided to do.
The match is coming out of fund balance, the 30,000 match.
Exactly. So why can't we just do it as a special article anyway?
We could. We could
Okay.
do that.
Okay.
Well, we can't do that.
No, but
Well,
they
it could
could.
be done.
Done that.
It could be done.
It could have been done. I mean, can it still be changed?
Well, yeah, because isn't there a whole period of negotiation?
Oh, yeah, this
after
is
we
still-
submit
this
our
is
budget
still
to
an
the
open
selectmen,
thing.
and
That's
then
an
they
open
come back
thing.
and say, we
Yeah.
can live with this, but we can't live with
Yeah,
that, and
right.
we try and work
Yeah.
something out.
We play with this now for another few months.
Brian's had enough.
I'm right behind him.
So,
So let's go to the village precinct budget.
what are we doing about this?
Well, my suggestion to the committee would be that we debate whether or not we support these warrant articles when it comes time to make our recommendations, and not tonight.
Well, when are we gonna do it?
Well, when are we finishing these budgets?
I was hoping to finish, tonight.
Well,
I mean-
our recommendations are due to
We're
be
gonna
made
have stuff
when-
to come back to
Right.
finalize things, we still need some information. We still need to talk about the 2% we talked about earlier. We were gonna bring that back up again.
Right. But I'm
And
saying,
it's-
we're not making recommendations tonight.
Okay.
Right?
No, because we haven't seen the written articles, but we know what they're gonna be, we
So,
can.
my suggestion again is, maybe I just, since we got a lot more stuff to do tonight.
All right, fine, we'll move on, we'll bring these back up later.
Well, but the only thing is that if the committee, I mean, so far, I'm the only one you and I are the only ones who've said that we feel this way, and if the rest of the committee feels that way as well, this gives the selectmen a chance to rethink the way they choose to fund those articles.
Okay.
And so then there wouldn't be necessarily a divided recommendation on the ballot. And they may decide to go ahead anyways, but
Exactly. Okay, so you wanna make a motion?
I'm not even, what would my motion be? That I am suggesting that the selectmen reconsider the way they're funding this?
No, you'd recommend or not recommend these articles the way they are at the time.
I don't think we're ready to do that until we.
I don't know if they.
Guys, next week's
Oh,
Christmas.
That's all.
I mean, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. We don't have anything scheduled for next week.
We
We
can
have
finish
one
this-
more meeting tomorrow.
We can finish the town's budget tonight and the school's budget tomorrow, and then after the first of the year is when we normally make, if I remember right, we make our recommendations, then we go to public hearing, we take input, and then we make changes to those if we so desire, right after public hearing.
When's the contract gonna be ready?
We're working on it. I don't know if we hope to have something from the selectmen on after January 6th meeting.
January,
6th or 13th,
when's the deadline?
14th.
When's the public hearing, Sue? I'm sorry, did you just say that?
No, I was giving you the deadline. The budget submission deadline is January 14th. The budget committee by law is required to have their first public hearing by January 21st.
Wow, it's late this year, isn't it? Isn't it normally like?
It's always the third Tuesday.
Yeah.
Really?
The problem is they may not have we'll have to have a meeting in between.
But we usually they're usually typed out, right? We go through each one, we take
Right,
a
right.
vote and-
No, you're right, but I'm just saying, but we're a little short on time, and I don't think,
Well, what do other people think? Are they okay with the using the unreserved fund balance, or is that something that they would like the selectmen to talk about?
Myself, I think we need to
what do
stop
you
doing
want
that.
to take a straw poll? Is that what you're asking for?
Yeah, that's what I was.
Okay, let's take a straw poll then.
A non-binding straw poll.
Yeah, just to give it a message maybe to the selectmen on how we feel about this.
So because I'm like, this is my first time wrapping my head around this process, so I'm trying to like figure it out. So what you're saying is just take these that they're pulling from the unreserved fund balance. That's for money left over this year that wasn't expended through the
Not just this year,
or
it's
for
for
many.
past-
Okay, so
right,
for many
right.
years. Okay. And so you'd like them just to put it into the budget for the year, or raise or do a special article for that appropriation itself, if that's what they.
No.
Okay, this is
so I'm
how,
just trying to make sure I
let me just
understand.
run real quick how it works. Okay, unexpended revenues go into a fund, and revenues and anything else revenues that come in that are unanticipated, okay? So then they go into the general, what they call the general fund. And then the general fund grows, and there's a certain dollar amount that DRA likes to see a percentage in that. We happen to be a little over right now. We spent some last year, and then they want to spend some more this year. In the past, this is something brand new that they started. In the past, what they have done is when they go to their meeting with the DRA to set the tax rate, and they still took some this year, I believe, they take a portion of money to offset the taxes, to actually, so your tax rate doesn't go up as much. Okay. Well, my contention is these are we paid for this money already. It should go back to the taxpayer because they paid for certain things that didn't get used for. So now they want to take the money that they said, okay, we need a new dump truck, and it's $200,000, but the dump truck only came in at $150,000. So they took that $50,000 and put it in, okay. So now they want to take that $50,000 that they had told you they were going to use for the dump truck, and they want to spend it on here, but tell you it's not costing you anything, when really it cost you $50,000. Huh?
Nobody said we're going to tell you it doesn't cost you anything. Come on.
Last year it was said that it
Whoa.
would not affect your taxes.
It will not affect your tax rate, which is not.
Different than that.
Well, still.
It doesn't affect your tax. Fellas, if you had taken that money and put it the way it comes back to where it goes, you take that money and you put it to offset taxes, would your taxes have gone down? Would your taxes have gone down? It's a yes or no question. Okay. Then it cost you something.
There's also an opportunity to identify specific, discrete projects that the board believes, if done now, will save the town money in the long run, and we can accomplish those now. And where the board has still proposed giving us a third amount back. I forget what it was. What was it, Sue?
$650,000.
Okay. Well, I can make it almost $1 million now, right?
You could, absolutely.
Okay. And if I was sitting in your chair, that's what I would probably be doing right now, because some people need a tax decree. We just heard from Ruthie that, she had a hard time this year, and she's going to have a hard time next year, because we already know what's happening. So, I mean, don't say it doesn't cost you anything. It does.
No, my words are yours.
Okay. Anyway,
Well-
you get the drift of what's happening?
It's not that it doesn't cost you anything, it's that the statement was it doesn't affect the tax rate.
Right.
Right, and you're saying that's not.
That's not true. If you take that money and put it towards the reduction of what you need to raise by taxes, $1 million is a lot of money.
A true statement would be that they don't have to raise the appropriation through taxes if they pay for it this way.
They already raised it through taxes.
They've already raised it through
Right, but
taxes.
in the budget, they don't have to raise that money.
They've already done it. You've already paid.
I'm not going to try to, because I don't want to argue their argument, but I was just trying to.
Well, I don't understand what you're saying. You're not going to raise it by taxes. It was raised by taxes. That is tax money.
You don't need a new appropriation.
She's talking about taxes in the current year.
Revenues,
Right.
extra revenues don't raise taxes. And some of your surplus is due to additional revenues you got, not just underspending.
Oh, no, I'm not, and that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that you could take this $330,000, right? And along with the $660,000, which is nearly $1 million, and use the $1 million to offset taxes versus the $660.
I understand what you're saying, but my point is that the unreserved fund balance isn't just from underexpending.
No, that's
It's
what-
also that we got additional revenue.
That's what I told. That's
not
what.
all from taxation.
That's what I told him.
He said that.
That's what I said. Carl?
Just one thing. Do you remember when, and I say this because most of you won't remember it, but some will.
Thanks.
If you artificially deflate the budget, next year the impact's going to be twice as big. One year the school got this big grant, or big revenue, or whatever happened. We got this influx of money, right? And everybody celebrated until the next year when all of a sudden the budget is what the budget is, and it looked like the school was doubling, and it was like an $800 increase. So all I'm saying is, what the selectmen are trying to do is balance everything. What you're talking about is artificially deflating for 1 year using fund balance. And you're going to create next year a bigger hole to take out of.
That would be true, Carl, if those funds didn't change. But in the past, we've always used, most of the time, we've used fund balance to decrease the amount of taxes that need to be raised.
You're doing this year as well.
Okay, but you can decrease it more. We just took a big tax hit because of because it was artificially inflated last year by saying that we were going to have a 1.5% increase in the inventory, which really didn't happen. That was an artificial mistake, or a number.
1.5% increase, we said a 0.5% increase.
Okay, and what happened?
It went down 5% because of a statistical reval. We had it
But it's
valued
still,
in town.
it's the same thing.
There was new construction in town.
There was new construction?
It's because of the reval.
I understand, but your revenues that you said that you were going to have didn't come in. Would that be accurate?
No.
What do you mean, no? One saying yes, one says no. What you anticipated for revenue off of those inventory wasn't there. So it caused your tax rates, your revenues to decrease.
The valuation of the town went down.
Exactly.
By about a 0.5%, just under.
So we were off by 1%. Okay. Which increased our tax rate considerably along with the school.
But that happens in any reval year. It can go up, it can go down.
Well, Carl's saying about artificially going up and down, saying that this is what this is going to do. I don't agree.
Well, our auditors recommended to the Board of Selectmen that the fund balance should be used for one-time purchases. I think it was misunderstood last year. I keep hearing about this one time. This was only going to happen this year. No, that's not what Scott said last year. What Scott said was the auditors recommend we use it for one-time purchases, not just this year, that you use your fund balance for one-time purchases. That's why you didn't see it used for operating expenses. We're not using it to offset payroll. We're using it for one-time purchases.
But frankly, some of these items I think are maintenance and repair. The detention pond reconstruction, there was a whole list of detention ponds that had to be reconstructed every, I don't remember what the time frame was, but it was every so many years, these detention ponds need to be reconstructed. The library's painting and repair, that needs to be done on a schedule, on like a regular basis.
It's not an annual expense.
Well,
and that was the point.
But I also think, I think that Carl's statement assumes that we are not going to fund any of these things, which I don't think we've even had that discussion yet.
No.
We haven't had the discussion about whether we think these things are worth funding or not.
I think it's the method of the funding is what is in question right now. Is by taking it out of unreserved fund balance. It actually, from where I'm sitting, it actually looks advantageous to overinflate the budget, to have the extra money, not expend all your budget. That way it goes into the fund balance to give you something that you can tell give the taxpayer the perceived notion that it's not going to cost them anything. And that's maybe my cynical look at things, but I don't know. But that's what, from what I hear, and even from ex-town employees, that's the impression they're getting too. So
I think people cannot follow the semantics. Of exactly what is said. You're right. I think that whatever was said was probably perfectly correct, but I think what people hear is, oh, it's free. And I don't think that's the truth.
It's not going to raise taxes. It did. All right, so anyway, the question was whether to give a motion or a direction to the selectmen on how the budget committee feels on these type of items coming out of the fund balance.
So,
We'll take a straw.
so am I correct in assuming that the selectmen wanted to use fund balance for these items right here?
That's what we're talking about.
That's what yeah. They want to take it out of the fund balance.
But they're all going to be on individual warrant articles, so the voters are going to
Be
make.
separate articles?
Yeah, so the voters are going to make the
Yeah.
final decision.
It's not all one group?
No.
Yeah,
No,
all right.
no. So, our and these can go on a separate article regardless. Right?
Yeah. And we're going to be recommending or not recommending
Right.
every single one of them.
But what I'm trying to say, Peter, is if they don't pass, you lose them.
Either way.
Okay, if they don't pass, you lose them.
Either way.
I don't want to lose the 300,000.
It'll be a separate article.
It's still going to be a separate article.
And it doesn't, correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't mean that the fire department can't find 30 grand somewhere and still apply for the grant and get these units.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does.
That does.
Why? Because
You
the
can't-
money wouldn't be coming out of their budget.
No, but
They
it's
can't
a
expend it.
special article, and if you don't get the money, you can't.
Okay, excuse me a minute. It's a bottom line budget, the fire department budget, right?
Yep.
Okay. If the town says, no, you cannot take money out of the general fund to do this, what's to stop Chief O'Brien from taking 30 grand out of any of his lines?
I don't
and
know, I'm
still
not an
apply?
attorney.
He'd have to get permission to do it.
I thought you couldn't do it. If there was a special article and the voters said no, I thought the answer was no.
The article is to whether or not the voters will approve taking the money out of the general fund. And if they say no to that, Chief, am I correct that you could, nevertheless, presuming you had the money in a certain line, you still could get these anyways?
Depends on how the article's written.
Yeah, that's true. It would depend on the exact wording, but.
I like I said, that I'm not sure about, but Sue?
Just to make you aware, there is a petition article that's been submitted to the town to take away the selectmen's authority to accept grants and donations. If that passes at town meeting, we can't accept that $270,000 grant unless we had a vote at town meeting.
Right.
Let's hope it doesn't pass.
I don't know where that came from.
Yeah, I didn't even know. Okay, so we're just doing a straw poll here to send a message to the selectmen how we feel about these, whether we want out of the fund balance or we prefer to see them, maybe it's a special article or whatever.
Well, I mean, are we voting on each individual or just as a whole?
I think this is a whole, well,
Do we have to take
The
a vote, or
concept.
can we just say, I mean?
Because I agree with
it's
it.
it's kind of a straw poll type thing. I don't know, maybe he wants to go back and say, hey, the budget committee's not gonna go along with this. Or the
We
feeling
can't
is,
stop it.
we can't
We
stop
can't
it.
We've only heard from a few people, so I
Right.
don't know.
Well, that's what I'm
Split
saying.
is.
See what I'm saying? So he wants they want an
Well,
idea.
and I mean, I agree with Elizabeth and some crow, Pete. With some of the stuff, they are like maintenance items. And so some of it I agree with, and some of them I don't agree with.
Okay, I think the question is, do we want this to come out of fund balance? Isn't that the
I'd
question?
rather not, no.
All right, let's just signify if we want to send a message to the selectmen that we don't agree with coming out of the fund balance. Is that okay? Is that pretty much? Okay, all in favor of that, signify by raising your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Opposed? 3. Abstaining? 1, 2. So. I don't know how clear a vote that is, but it's pretty split, but, yeah. But you got the message that the guy doesn't know which way.
I don't have any problem with it. I've always been one to, given a choice, let the voters decide it's their money. So I don't have an objection to them putting this forward. They haven't decided to spend this money. They've decided to go to the voters and say, do you want to spend this on these one-time expenditures, yes or no? They say no, that's it.
Okay, I understand. All right,
How many years can we keep doing this, though?
So there's enough money.
As long as we have money in the budget, as long as we have the money in the.
On the fund.
On the fund.
As long as they overtax you, I mean, you don't have a problem.
Right, they have an audit, right, and the auditor gives you advice on
That's exactly what we did.
how
That's
to,
exactly the
how to
process we
deal
went
with
through.
this.
Yeah. And
Okay,
then we have a
let's-
healthy fund balance, you recommend you bring it down by X amount.
No, that's what Scott explained to us last year.
Okay.
I'm aware of that, but I
But,
just.
but there is other ways to bring it down, am I right? There's options to bring it down.
If I can make a comment, Pete?
Go ahead. Let's,
I mean, then let's go on.
yeah,
please.
I want to go
Okay.
on. I thought we just took a straw poll, we know what.
All right, fine. When we go to recommend or not recommend.
Okay,
I'll
there
make
we
my
go.
comment
That's
then.
when we'll do the conflict. All right, so where we're at, Brian?
I'd like to go to CIP.
Page 30.
Public Works.
CIP?
Yeah.
Page 30?
Page 30.
Carl, let me see here. That 350 SOAR truck that you have on here is for $46,000. Did you not get a quote last year that was quite a bit lower than that. 'Cause I remember you trying to submit something to selectmen at the last minute for something like with that. You really needed it.
I don't recall what the quote we had last year was. Just know that's the updated quote we got for next year.
Okay.
Doesn't sound like a lot of money though for that truck, does it? F-350 with a plow, 46?
Fair amount, but would it be fair to say that you couldn't buy you could buy that out of this year's budget?
No. we couldn't buy it out of that budget.
Why wouldn't you be able to? The salt lines got how much money in it?
Don't even go there.
Popular belief, we don't do that.
No, I'm trying to get you I'm looking at what's here, and I'm just trying to.
We don't have any vehicles this year to take it out.
Okay.
So there's no money at all in the budget to.
I don't, obviously we have a few more weeks to go, but
Yep.
there's not gonna be a lot left this year. At least in DPW's budget. We're running about as close as we can run, I think. I don't think there's a lot extra.
Well, with all the snow. Okay, there was some talk on fire department and the CIP. Did we finish with that, with the truck and fire forestry truck? Swapping the thing around, we had talked about that at one time. Have you ever made a decision on that one?
I think all we did was talk about it, we didn't vote on anything else.
No, I don't think so. So it was the 95,000 that we were talking about, right?
Mhm.
And we had said that, well, I know for a fact that we were talking about moving that pack that we currently have into the pickup truck and using that, so. You're on page 30 again.
I know that. I'm just trying to find it.
95,000 right there.
Yep.
Any more discussion on that? I'm just trying to hit things that we talked about. Okay, let's move. What, Brian?
So that's the multi-purpose vehicle, or what have you?
Yeah, that's the forestry truck. And then we had that pack that slides out.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about, that was really designed to go in a pickup truck.
Yep.
Okay, let's go back to what I originally started with a couple of weeks ago, which was salaries increases. I don't remember how we left it. Do we have any, do you remember, was it a motion, was it tabled?
We asked for information about a 2% reduction and then the 3% reduction.
Right.
And we tabled the longevity pay vote.
Okay. Well, I make a motion, take that longevity pay off the table.
Second it.
Okay, for discussion, some more discussion on it. I think we have a better understanding. We don't know the dollar numbers. Unfortunately, I don't think we got that information, except for what Sonny gave us, which was 77,000, Sonny? 79,000.
171.
Plus associated benefits and retirements and whatever else is associated with it, so we're probably close to $100,000 or 77,000, I would think. But that's not your motion would be 77,
Right.
whatever, plus associated benefits. I'll make that motion.
You already seconded that.
No, I made the motion. I took it up, take it off the table.
Okay.
Are we all in favor of taking it off the table?
What is that, what do you mean by that?
We tabled the motion, so now, for,
Oh, okay.
We can discuss
Yeah,
it.
We
Voting
need
to
to
discuss
discuss it.
all in favor of taking it off the table? All right. Pretty much unopposed. So my motion is to cut it by the 79,171
Plus the new safety.
plus associated benefits. You have a second on it?
Yep.
Brian seconded it. I think we've had our discussion on it.
got a question, though.
Go ahead, Guy.
You had also discussed the 2% and the 3%. Is that gonna be following this?
2% would probably be cut. Not, I don't think I would go backwards, give a big decrease.
Okay.
That would be a decrease to 3%,
Yeah,
after
But
reviewing it.
You were making noise about it last
Yeah,
week.
I know, but after reviewing it,
Okay.
you know.
All right.
Elizabeth?
I'm looking at this list again of all the employees and how much they get paid and their longevity pay, and I admit, I see that some people are making a lot of money. I see, frankly, a few people who I think are underpaid. And I see most people making, it's the benefits, really, that I have an issue with, not so much as the salary. So I'm worried that by cutting the longevity pay, we kind of hit all these people, or we hit them kind of disproportionately. I'm more comfortable with the 2%, cutting the 2% pay increase. I know we're not there yet, but then I am the longevity, and I think part of that is because this is, a message to the board that they need to do some serious reform on the pay scale, and I'm just worried that cutting the longevity pay kind of.
Well, we're just cutting the dollars. That doesn't mean it's gonna happen,
Yeah,
that.
but I don't know, I don't know. I'm sorry, that was not very articulate at all, but.
I think, I know you say you don't want to lower people's pay, you don't want to go backwards, but if we cut all of the longevity pay, I mean, that's essentially, like, people have this, that's sort of planned because it goes up a little bit every year. I'd be more comfortable with trying to freeze the longevity pay because it's something that they build in their calculation in what they make throughout the year. So that's more freezing it at what it's at, as opposed to, because if we take the whole amount out for these people, that's a pay cut that they're taking throughout the year. And that's what you say you want to avoid.
I see what you're saying.
Do you know what I mean?
I understand exactly what you're saying. So you're saying freeze it at the 2013 rate.
Yeah, just freeze it where because that's just level funded at whatever it was last year. I feel like that's more fair because these are also people who are not everybody, but people are residents of Goffstown. We're taking, and then it's like a focus, like I think what Elizabeth's saying. It's like a focus on just them, and it doesn't hit everybody. It only hits certain people, and it just.
Well, it hits everybody, but.
Well, it doesn't hit like union employees
Right.
necessarily. So it focuses on the non-union employees. I just feel like it just doesn't seem.
So are you making an amendment to my motion?
Yes, I make a motion to
Make an
amend your
amended
motion, so that we level fund it at the 2013 levels. I don't know the exact dollar amount for that.
I'm really confused.
No, what he's doing, go ahead, Brian.
We were not allowing 2%.
No, that's different.
Plus-
This is something
Okay,
different.
that's what I was getting a little
Yeah,
confused.
well, no,
Okay.
that 2% is something different.
So
Okay,
just-
fair enough.
Go ahead,
In some
Joe.
cases, that would mean going up, like for the police, 2013, it was 31,980. For this year, it's 30,030. So you-
For
that-
for the employees who
I would
are.
actually, so if you're going,
All right.
I mean, you would actually be increasing this year's
So how
line.
do we do that?
I'm looking at the police line, 41,700.
Doesn't that include union as well?
Yeah, I would,
I think it does when it's rolled up there. It includes union and.
Yeah, right, but anyway.
current employees
So-
at the 2013 rate. That's what, I think what you were saying, right?
Yeah, current, because I think probably what happened.
There might be somebody that left.
Chief, I'm not sure. Did somebody leave potentially? So that's why the longevity.
The problem with that is people.
Okay, so
Oh,
at
the
the
union
current
people, yeah.
levels for people who are.
Yes, I see what you're saying, right.
Peter?
Go ahead.
I can tell you that was the board's feeling too, that to take it away all at once wasn't fair, if you want to use the word fair, to employees, because they've already figured out their budget. They know
Right,
what
I
their
understand.
expenses are. I thought, maybe be fair and give them the message that something's coming in the future. So you may have
So-
to adjust your personal budgets.
So I think that's a fair motion to freeze it.
I just wanted to give you
Yeah,
that.
I appreciate that.
But I have a question then.
We didn't did we get a second to that?
Yeah.
Oh, second.
Elizabeth seconded, Brian seconded mine.
Colin, are you saying that what's in the budget now is frozen?
No, that's not what he said.
You're not saying that, all right.
Said they verbally.
No, we had a discussion about it, decided we would leave it in this year because we thought it was the fair thing to do. We thought it would be hitting people unfairly and without notice, and it would affect them in their personal budgets. I mean, any of us would take a hit like that. It wasn't expected, it just.
I would agree with you, except you don't pay those till the end of the year. That gives them 12 months to prepare for it. So, I mean, that's,
Yeah, well,
Let me ask you a question.
I wasn't
Do
prepared
you
for my
think-
tax bill either.
that was me, but.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think by
that
doing
aggressive
this,
tonight.
that you're not sending a message to the non-union employees to form a union?
You are most certainly.
and then you have somebody to negotiate with then, don't you, Dick?
Yes,
Thank you.
but it's gonna cost you money.
You're assuming.
I don't
I
have
know.
the breakdown.
I know it's gonna cost you money
Okay.
I don't have the breakdown,
when you
but
start paying lawyers.
That's enough. He's talking now. You had your turn. Go ahead, guy.
I don't have the breakdown, but for 2013, longevity pay was 116,025.
What?
No, that was the total, compared to this year's total of 121,681. But I don't have the breakdown of
So it's not a lot.
2013.
You're not talking a lot of money here.
So it's about $6,000 more, $5,000 more this year, in this year's, 2014, actually.
Are you including the,
Dick, did you have something to say? He's got his hand up. We got to do.
But I think so like in the police chief said that some employees are leaving.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
that
that
amount's
changes.
probably gonna change
correct.
some stuff as well.
I mean, I
We're
didn't,
not
on the
talking a lot.
2013,
Yeah,
I didn't have all the numbers.
Everybody, go ahead, Brian.
I apologize if this is a redundant question, but longevity pay, they reach a certain level of service, and then we pay them. Do they get that pay the next year and then the next year
Yeah,
as well?
it's not cumulative. It's just a set.
They get one fee, and then the next year, like the 10th year, they don't get a longevity pay too.
Yeah, they do.
So it increases their salary by that much.
No, it could be the same.
It's almost like a bonus.
It's separate from their salary, but they get it every year, once they start getting it.
They know they're gonna get it the next year, and the next year, and the next year, and then they leave.
And it goes up each year.
Yeah,
Every other year. Every other year it goes up.
every 2 years.
Every other year.
Yeah, every other year it goes up.
Gotcha.
Everybody understand what Shay's motion is? To freeze it at last year's. All in favor of the amended motion signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Opposed? 1, 2. Abstaining? 1. Okay. Now we can go to the 2%. Make a motion, we cut the 2% on all non-union personnel. Seconded by Brian.
Can I just ask?
Go ahead, Joe.
So you're saying they shouldn't get a raise beginning July 1st, right?
Right.
Okay.
So you're talking about a 2% raise in 6 months, for 6 months.
Right, okay. But no one's salary gets cut.
Nobody gets cut. Elizabeth.
Well, except for the fact that they have new health insurance rates, correct, and new retirement rates. So effectively, it will be a reduction.
Take-home pay might go down because of those things.
Yes.
Because of that.
But that's not unusual in this day and age anyway, so, I mean, my insurance just went up, will go up effective next month, so.
Just a point of fact, this board, selectmen, the voters, voted the 3% increase for 2013, for 6 months. Carries over into 2014.
Right.
So 2014, last week, you wanted to cut it completely.
Yeah, no, but.
But they still got the 3%.
Right.
But they'll have it for the full year.
That's not good, just salaries are set now.
Yeah, it's set.
They'll have it all year long, and you're gonna still get the longevity. So all you're doing is saying.
They're not gonna get longevity, we just cut that. We froze it.
Froze it.
Right. They're still gonna.
And they're not gonna get the 2% for 6 months.
Right.
So
Well,
they're-
no, for a year, because it goes into the following year.
It'll go into the following year. So basically, other than workman's comp, FICA, insurances, their pay in 2013 will be the same in 2014.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
So they don't lose,
Except that.
except for the benefits. Yes.
Except for the
So,
benefits.
but if the benefits and retirement are going up, their take-home is gonna go down.
That's correct.
Like all of us, really.
Yeah,
That's nothing different, right?
but it's not gonna be hopefully a big number. compared to what?
And this is just dollars we're cutting again here, you know.
Right.
Any more discussion on this? Brian?
The private sector is going through the same thing right now. I mean, there's increase in benefits and people's salaries are not going up, so I think it's kind of if we do vote for this motion, it kind of goes in line with what is going on with the economy, so.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Opposed? 1, 2, 3. Abstaining? 1. Anything else? Guy, did you have anything else?
No.
Lee? Brian? Want to make sure everybody gets
You want
this?
to get rid of that?
Anything?
Yeah, well, I'm kind of going through here.
And then we're still got,
I have something.
go ahead, Guy.
Just thought of it. The library tuition reimbursement number.
Oh, that's right.
That we reduced that, and then the money got put back in.
Shay made a motion last time to put it back. You weren't here.
Oh, that's right, so I can't bring it back up.
No, it'd have to be somebody who voted in favor of it to reconsider.
I'd like to bring it back up for
Discussion.
I'd like to understand it a little better.
So from what I got, so the email that got passed around, what happened was is last year was funded at a half-year level. So when you're going to school, you got to take you have to be at least part-time, is it, to get the financial aid? You have to take a certain number of credits.
4 courses per year.
Yeah, so 4 courses per year. So you took 2 in the fall semester. So she was able to get financial aid for that. But next year, for her to continue to get financial aid, she's got to take 2 in the spring semester, 2 in the fall semester, right?
It's 4 total, it doesn't matter which semester.
Or sorry, 4 total. So last year we were funding 2 credits, or 2 classes, I should say, and then this year we'd be funding 4 classes. So it would just be consistent. It just wouldn't be for a half year; it would be for a full year of her taking classes. So the reason why it went up, why it doubled in the amount, so last year roughly the $3,000, plus probably a little bit for the employee development, other things that were there. So that's why it's doubling that amount for the credit itself, for the classes itself, which is consistent with what the town policy is to do that reimbursement. And that's what it would be for every employee. It's just the library hadn't had an employee going through this for a while prior to this. That's why it's getting added into the budget now.
Okay. Guy? Guy has his hand up first.
It's my understanding that this line at 6510, the selectmen brought it down to 3010 because the line was not cut. It was split between 2 different. It's split between employee development and now this new line called tuition reimbursement for the same total of 6510. Correct?
There is no cut.
Right. Well, we increased it.
Yeah, there's no cut. There's actually no cut.
It
was
split
the selectmen
between
didn't
2
cut
lines.
anything. If I'm right, Mark, you tell me if I'm wrong, from what information that I got from the minutes, was they didn't really cut anything, they just didn't give the increase. Is that accurate?
Okay,
So
I
the-
did a little research.
Go ahead. I want to hear it.
And it appears that the library first requested tuition reimbursement in October 2011 for the 2012 budget year, okay? And your handout, an additional $3,000 to support staff members who will attend graduate school beginning in 2012. We hope to move the staff person into professional position be vacant in July of 2012. The $3,000 for classes was already budgeted in 2012. So in the default budget for 2013, and the request was the same as 2012, I mean, there would have been no need to wait for town meeting because 2013 was the second year of funding for those classes, not the first. So I don't understand why we, first of all, why we increased the amount when it's the same as what you were, same as the last, actually it was 5,000 in 2012, 5,000 in 2013. And this year, the selectmen left it at 6510 because it's split between two accounting lines because of the new software.
This year, if you add the two, it's
But it's that-
5,000.
5,000.
I'm sorry, 500 less.
1,500 less, 1,500 less.
2012 was the first year the tuition reimbursement was started with an increase of 3,000.
For this employee.
Not this year, it was 2012.
Right.
But this employee is, well,
Doesn't make a difference, it's, the dollar amount is the same.
should we give Diana a chance to answer the guy's question?
Yeah, I mean, I think she's already discussed this a couple of times, but, and I think when the Board of Selectmen had Tess Martson, Tess was under the impression that it was cut when it really wasn't cut.
Right.
You know, and she actually apologized for being confused, if I understand it right. Go ahead, Diane.
I'm not exactly sure what the question is at this point, so maybe, in previous years, employee development and tuition reimbursement were rolled into one line. Tuition reimbursement for the staff person, employee development for every other staff person in the library. So now it's two separate lines, and we've increased in tuition reimbursement so we can help her pay for her full 4 classes in 2014.
Okay, was tuition reimbursement was there previous year, right?
It was.
Was it used?
It was not used. She deferred her entry to her graduate program.
Okay. So, yeah, you heard me talk about the taxpayer. Every time you come to one of my meetings, I say the taxpayer. The taxpayer's already paid for that once. They already paid $3,000.
In 2013.
Okay. And how about in 2012?
And it was funded but not used. She deferred her entry.
Okay, so the taxpayer paid it then also, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Both years.
But
You understand
not
what I'm
used-
saying? The taxpayer still paid it.
But she used tuition in 2013. So this year it's been used.
Okay.
So we've asked for the full complement of 4 classes for 2014.
But I go back to it's the unused when it wasn't used. Where did that go?
Well, sometimes your life enters the picture for
I agree with you,
for
100%.
people,
I
and
understand.
that, so we didn't use it on anything else. It got returned like it should have.
Yep.
So if I can ask the Board of Selectmen a question?
Go ahead.
You guys just reduced this back to the previous year's level. Is that correct?
Yeah, the Board of Selectmen's position is that we shouldn't be paying for people to pursue advanced degrees.
But is it in the town manual that they can?
Well, I understand. I'm telling you what the Board of Selectmen's discussion was. We talk about what happens in private sector versus public sector. When you look in the public sector, at the state level, they did away with tuition reimbursement many, many, many years ago. Because they realized that when you pay for advanced degrees, you soon lose that employee. You've increased their worth in the marketplace, and they are gone. And that's the reality of it.
But that's a what if in our situation, and frankly, I answered these questions last week. We talked about 9 employees townwide that are getting tuition reimbursement. This one's being singled out.
I would disagree with that statement.
Okay, hold on. Diane, I don't think she's being singled out. She's just not being given a double the amount that she's had in previous years.
Then you would significantly just say you're not worthy of a graduate degree. She will not be able to attend.
That's not accurate at all, because you're giving her money.
But no, here's the thing, though. The way the financial aid works is you only get it if you're going for a certain number of credits.
So is that the taxpayer's problem?
So here's the thing: we've invested this $3,000 in her already, and then she's not going to be able to get the financial aid to pay for the half of it anyway. So you're just going to have wasted that $3,000 from the year before that you already put into it. So if you do this, then effectively she can't get the financial aid, she can't get the loans to cover her other half of it. So you've spent this money. So again, if you want to say it that way, then you're just throwing taxpayer money away. I mean, I'm just going to use, that's what you're saying. You don't want to waste money. But
that's not true at all, because she did get some knowledge, which she's using now on a daily basis. So we're really not throwing anything.
2 classes of knowledge.
It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm not debating what, go ahead, Liz.
My point with what Collis is saying, my problem with what you're saying is that you're the Board of Selectmen. I mean, do you have purview, or do you have the authority to change your employee manual that says we will no longer have tuition reimbursement? And if so, that's how you should attack this, not just shortchange the budget on
The
certain.
Board of Selectmen's looking at the employee manual.
Yeah, I mean, I
Personnel
think that
manual
would be the way
for
to
the town
attack
hall.
this, in my opinion. I mean,
Well, let me correct a statement. Okay, there are not 9 employees in town hall who are getting tuition reimbursement. There's one person in town hall who is pursuing an advanced degree who has put that off also. Okay, the other employees is employee development. It's money to attend seminars and conferences. That's a whole lot different than pursuing an advanced degree. That's so that they can maintain their knowledge base in the job that they're performing. That's a lot different than paying somebody to get an advanced college degree.
I
So,
thought
for
the chief
instance-
said that we
But we
had,
have
yeah, we have police and firemen
Police
getting
department
advanced.
employees.
I'm talking town hall. I'm talking town hall.
Town
She
government.
was talking
town
town-wide. I think
government.
Diane meant
No,
town-wide.
I'm talking about the point was made about 9 people in town hall.
Town-wide,
Town
town-wide.
government.
Sorry, I misunderstood.
Town-wide.
I misunderstood.
But, Lisa, I don't understand. You're still giving her $3,000, which was budgeted last year and budgeted the year. You're trying to
No,
help her.
I'm not even addressing it. I was just addressing what Carlos was
Okay.
saying, that if his point is he doesn't agree with funding higher education, and that town employees should not, that's his stance.
I agree with
think
you.
he should
Okay,
address
got
it in the manual and not, if it's being offered, I think it's kind of,
Can I correct something, Lisa?
I just want to finish my
Yep,
statement.
Go ahead.
I don't think it's fair if you say this is part of your benefits package, but now we don't like that idea, so we're not going to fund it.
But is that really what they're saying?
But
They
that's what
are,
he just
no,
said.
but they are funding it.
That's what he
They
said.
are funding it.
No, but they are fun.
They're not funding it to the level that she needs to have in order to get course reimbursement.
Okay, then that's a different story. but I'm just
That's
responding
nothing to, that's, one's got nothing to do with the guy. Go ahead.
In 2012, we funded this line under one line to the amount of 5,000. We spent 1,585 of it. In 2013, we funded it to 5,000. At year to date, or at the end of October, we spent 3786. I'm still not understanding why this line all of a sudden has to double. The selectmen, what they're doing basically is leveling it for another 5,000 for 2014. Correct?
She's taking 4 classes.
level funding it.
Why did she not have to take 4 classes last year?
Because it was only for the fall semester. She started her program, as most colleges do, in the fall semester. So that's just half of a year. She didn't take any last spring
So
semester.
now we're gonna help her
And-
double that to keep
Well,
her.
what happens then too is if you fund the $3,000 and just the $3,000, you're not gonna be able to use the $3,000 because you can't afford to go. So either, you have one or the other. You either pay for the $6,000 or you don't pay for it at all because that $3,000 isn't going to be used because you can't afford the financial aid. She can't get the financial aid to go.
But it comes back to the whole, I understand the situation, but it comes back to the whole thing. Is that our problem? Seriously. I'm asking,
I'm saying if-
I may sound callous when I say that, but is that the taxpayer's responsibility to make sure that we pay $6,000 instead of $3,000?
I'm with Lisa. If we're going to do it for everybody, and if it's in the manual, and that's the expectation that she had when she entered this program, when she's already taken out loans and gone through all this, if that's the expectation that we have for her, then it's not fair at this point.
But they are giving her $3,000.
So last year, if she took classes in the spring and the fall semesters, we wouldn't even be having this conversation because it'd be level funded. It's just that she
No,
started her
that's
program
if-
in the
That's
fall.
that's if they would have been funded. You're assuming that last year's budget committee and the Board of Selectmen would have said, okay, we're going to spend the $6,000 instead of the $3,000. That's an assumption on your part. Go ahead, Brian.
I get it's been funded for this amount for how long?
2 years.
What was it before that? I guess all I'm saying is you're not taking anything away from anybody. You're not saying you can't educate them. This is what they have in the fund to do it. And if you can make it work with what's in the fund, then I don't think we're taking anything away from anybody.
Hold on, Joe's got his hand up. Joe, go ahead.
I wanted to ask Diane, if at the current funding level, the funding level that the Board of Selectmen proposed, would she be able to take one course? Any courses at all?
She, with the 3,500 in 2014.
Yes.
It's 5,000.
It was 3,010.
Yeah.
That's what they.
3,000 or what? Yeah, whatever.
5,000.
5,000.
All right, I'm hearing all these different numbers. What am I answering? What's the question? it's.
if your tuition reimbursement is funded at $3,010,
Mhm.
could she take any courses at all
That would give her money to take 2 classes,
without financial
a
aid?
little less than, right, and then she would be, you
So
know,
she
she
could
wouldn't
do-
be enrolled after that point.
She could do 2 classes a year at the funding level proposed by the Board of Selectmen.
But if she can't make her match with financial aid, she has to match the other half of that program. Because tuition reimbursement is 50%.
Okay.
So if she doesn't have that match for the other 50%, she's not taking any classes.
Lost me.
That's what that
So-
financial aid is for, to pay for the other 50%
now.
of her.
That guy's,
okay.
That guy and then Lee.
I just want to clarify, the number's not 3,000, it's 5,010.
Right.
That number was split this year into 2 lines, the one just below it. See the line?
Right, I was just looking at, it's called tuition reimbursement, so I was just looking at that number, that's why.
Last year, tuition
I don't know if the library director would have the authorization to use the other
Yeah, their bottom line
number
budget, she can do
for
whatever. Their bottom line.
tuition
That would be a
reimbursement.
discussion of the library board of trustees.
Yeah, okay.
That would mean that we would not fund any workshops, anything for any other employees. So
Right.
that's a big conversation for us to have.
Can I provide a little clarification to a couple of the comments?
I'm sorry, who, number one, this isn't a public comment meeting, but who are
I'm
you?
a trustee. My name is Sarah Ellico.
Okay.
Guy, there's still a reimbursement that was just made. You were talking about how it was like $3,700 at this
Right,
point.
that
So
was at the end of October.
Yeah, so that, there was just a reimbursement made last
Sure.
week. So that's going there. As far as the, Collis, you were talking about if the employee left after she got her degree. And I believe there's actually a town policy that if someone leaves after they get a degree, they have to pay a certain amount back, so.
A certain amount of time, I assume, yeah.
Right.
assume there's-
3 years.
Yeah, okay.
So
3
that
years.
clarifies a little bit of that. And then just as an overview, 2012, there was money budgeted, and this, at this point, was for tuition, but it's also for other stuff. I would assume like CPR, first aid, things that are requirements of the staff to take. So she didn't do it that year. 2013, she did 2 classes, and now we're asking her to do 4 classes, but she.
Thank you.
Peter?
Yeah, I got Lee was first, and
I'm
then,
sorry.
Yeah, so essentially, at the 6,500, that's half of what these classes cost, because there would be the 50% that's kicked in by financial aid would be another, let's just say, double that, right? So we're at $13,000 roughly, is what the cost of the 4 classes are.
go ahead, Collis.
I just want to clarify for the record, Lisa, I didn't say that we shouldn't be reimbursing for tuition.
That's
It's
what
the
you just
board.
said
It's
right
the
here.
Board of Selectmen.
Okay, sorry.
Well, there's a big difference, okay? It's the Board of Selectmen's position, okay? It's not
I
my
amend
personal.
my previous statement to not say you.
Straight.
The
No,
Board
that's
of
right.
Selectmen.
She'll take that out of your back later.
You want to know my personal opinion, that's a discussion for another forum.
So, let's just kind of regroup on this. Go ahead, Guy.
On motion?
Well, just let,
We already have one.
we have a motion.
No, we have a motion for discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Lee brought it up.
What's the motion?
To cut 2% on all non-union, oh wait, that
No.
one's old.
Yeah, that was a while
That was a
ago.
while ago.
Come on, Joanne.
We haven't
Way
done
to go.
anything on this one yet.
Check those minutes carefully.
Come on, I worked all day today.
So, just to kind of go over what we're talking about is to bring back the line to the recommendation of the selectmen. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I just,
And who moved?
nobody's made a motion
Nobody
yet.
has,
That's, I mean, that's the discussion we're having. Go ahead, Guy.
The two lines, right? The 2 lines.
All right. You gonna second it? I'll make a motion to return that line, 44,200, tuition reimbursement back to the level set by the Board of Selectmen from its current 6,510 to 3,010. You're seconding that? Yep.
Seconded by Brian.
I've already spoken to my.
Anybody else got any discussion on it? All in favor of the motion signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 opposed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 abstaining. 1, 2. Motion passes. That line goes back to the 3 that the selectmen's recommended. Anything else?
Get the sewer.
In the sewer. Is there anything on the sewer that anybody needs to discuss? I mean, that's self-funding.
And the waterworks.
Do I have your budget?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I could have copies for you guys.
No, I haven't seen it, so I would have to say.
Just quickly, so the waterworks budget has gone down from $689,000 last year back down to $631,691 this year. And the basic reason that it went down is because we bought a new truck and we funded $40,000 for.
You gotta be quiet because I can't hear on that.
For leach beds at the development on Shirley Hill Road.
So that's where your budget's up, or that's, no, it's down?
Down.
Down, yep, okay.
Like that.
Can we get copies of that? I wasn't here for that meeting, so I
Get
don't
this
have
one.
a copy of it. Thanks, I don't know what we're looking at.
Any questions on the sewer budget?
So your rates are remaining the same this year?
Yes.
We're on the water, village water precinct. Any questions? All in favor? I don't know what we're in favor of, but. Well, no, we really.
Water, you're in favor of
Yeah, I
water.
mean, we always recommend, we always make a recommendation on the water precinct budgets for some reason, I don't know why. So now we gotta get the sewer. Let's get the sewer out. Dick, you snuck by. Yeah.
I had it, we got the presentation.
I don't even know, I'm looking for it.
33.
33. Okay.
Any questions on the sewer budget?
Sure enough, there it is.
Okay. Fine. Now, tomorrow's meeting, I'll send you out an agenda, but tomorrow's meeting starts off as a regular scheduled meeting, regular monthly meeting, so we'll have, anybody's got anything from the departments that they've had to bring up or talk to anybody about, we'll bring that up, and then, we'll go into some more budget talks and.
Do we not have to vote on the sewer budget?
I don't know if there's really nothing there. If you want to vote on it, go ahead. I'd take
No,
it.
I don't know, I mean just legally.
No, I think it's, no.
Part of the budget.
Yeah.
These,
These are not part of the budget, so
Okay.
we kind of,
I see.
we'll have to do some paperwork on the water precinct budget. Have you seen the Grassmere one yet?
So we're gonna meet tomorrow night, and then we're not meeting again until when?
Yeah. And I won't be here.
When do we come up with the final?
Will we be voting on minutes tomorrow night, do you think?
Yes.
People
We're
should
gonna
look
go
over
through a
the
bunch of
minutes.
minutes. We're still missing one set of minutes from last week. Two sets of minutes from last week?
One from last week, one from the week before.
Oh, okay. So, go
Do we
ahead.
know when our next meeting is?
I'm looking right now.
January?
Are we gonna set the date for the debate at high school?
Did you put your bill in?
Well, we'll do that in January. That's gonna be, I think the public hearing has to be, what did she say, the third Tuesday? Before the third Tuesday? Sue, when did you say the budget committee public hearing had to be done by?
21st, January 21st?
Third Tuesday in January.
Third Tuesday, which is the 21st.
Budget submission deadline is the second Tuesday in January. All petition articles are due by then, and we have to conclude our collective bargaining agreements. If we don't, then it doesn't go forward.
Okay.
Do we have dates yet for deliberative?
We do. Wednesday, during the first week of February, is the town.
When is it? I'm
School's
sorry.
on Saturday.
What did
Sorry,
you say?
say that
Wednesday
again,
what?
Sue.
I think it's
The town.
Sonny, go ahead, Richard.
the town's on Wednesday.
Can I telecommunicate?
When you gonna be in Florida?
Yeah, I'm leaving Monday for Florida for 4 months.
I'll vote for you.
I don't know how to use that thing, but I mean, I'm sure.
I don't know, I'm gonna try, you know?
Okay, I don't know. Have you ever done that?
I mean, yeah, it works, it works.
We
It
did with
just,
you when we voted
Last
for
year.
chair. We were on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
can you give me the dates on those, Peter? Fax me?
Well, we'll have, I'll put everything down.
And then I'll call you, and then
Yeah.
I'll tell you what the temperature is, I'm in my shorts, and, you know.
This is February.
February 1st?
I'm running around in my
Look
jacket.
at the little voodoo doll, stick pins in it.
Yeah.
After the town,
Make it-
Elizabeth.
Motion to
We
adjourn.
don't want to have
Hold on, now we have a motion.
Hold on,
The town
Sorry.
is
So,
January.
so
Hold on.
the school deliberative session is February 1st, you
I
said?
believe so, and their snow date is, that's a Saturday, okay?
Yeah, that's
And then
unusual.
their snow date is Monday, because you have to have it within so many hours of
Right.
And then the town deliberative session is February 5th.
Wednesday, yes, with Thursday as a snow day. The road's clear.
Hope for snow.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to adjourn by Shay, seconded by Sonny.
When is the public hearing on the budget?
For the budget.
When is it? I don't know.
I'd like to call the school to get the facility, because you have it in the Heber Auditorium, and they're going on break, so I'd like to get a call into them before they go.
Oh, it has to be done by how about, we can't do it on that month.
You want to do the 15th, Wednesday the 15th?
I can't be there if you're doing
Gives us time.
What'd you say, Guy?
And that's probably a good idea to do it on the 15th, because it gives us time in case we want to make changes after the public hearing.
You got the 20th, yeah.
Yeah.
15th? Okay.
The public, what is that called again? The
Public hearing.
Public hearing.
Public
I
hearing.
just know for sure I won't
Also,
be able
the
to make it.
selectmen have to hold their
Why is that?
bond hearing, and
My
we
first day
sometimes
of
do the
classes,
same
and I
night,
have
so
a
if there's no
class from 6 to
objection,
9 that night.
I'll
Jeez.
I don't
hold
have
it.
one, but.
What's
but
that?
It's his call.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
I can't.
I'm looking at a calendar, what?
I can't, I do yours at 7.
Put a,
It's just easier to.
put a snow date on it for the 16th.
We can't, it would Tuesday be a better day?
Tuesday the 14th is when the petition articles are due in.
You
So,
did the 16th?
we've done it before on Tuesday, but if something comes in late, we don't have a chance to review it.
We're not gonna have a chance to review it anyway, even if it comes on Tuesday, if we're having a public hearing on Wednesday.
Can we do it the
Well,
16th?
yeah, I
can't
can
do it
email
on
it to you.
Tuesday.
I can email you the petition. Only if it's an appropriation article, obviously.
Right.
I know for sure I'm gonna be able to make it that night, so I prefer if I can make it.
Tuesday, I can't do it.
That-
No,
that
Tuesdays were
Wednesday.
bad.
What about
Oh,
the 16th?
You can't do you can't do Wednesdays, you can't do Wednesdays.
16th is a Thursday?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that.
Do you want me to try and get the
Does that work for
facility
you?
for the 16th?
Yeah, 16th works better.
Okay, we'll try to get it for the 16th.
Did you decide when our next meeting will be? After tomorrow?
So the motion to adjourn, the motion's been made, seconded, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Did you decide on the meeting date after